step in your river, and it takes me deep. Your heart is my temple, your tears rinse my feet. I walk out, I'm able to carry your peace. It reminds me of a song that I heard long ago. Maybe I've always known that you were right there. A simple melody playing over and over in my dreams. Somehow out of reach, eluding me until I release. You come close to me when I believe, and I let you take the lead when I believe. My heart starts to see when I believe. When I believe, you said, "Come to my garden, eat from my tree, step in my river, let it take you deep. Your heart is my temple, your tears rinse my feet. You walk out, you're able to carry my peace. It's an ancient sound heard from the ones who came before, and now it's here once more to pierce your soul. A simple melody playing over and over in your streets, like a whirlwind turning things, tearing up the dark. That's where I believe, and my heart starts to sing when I believe. I let you take the lead when I believe. You come close to me when I believe. When I believe, it's all in your feelings. It's all how I receive your sound. All in your feelings, your emotions, they find me out. It's all in your feelings. It's all how I receive your sound. All in your feelings, your emotions, they find me out. When I let it go, when I let it go, then I let it go. I let it all go now. I let it go. Hey, now I let it go. Whoa, I let it go. Whoa, I let it all go now. Oh, Don't cry no more, my dear. Don't you cry no more. I'll be waiting here, my dear. I'll be at your door. Do you hear me knocking? Do you hear my drum to draw you from your fortress that's been overcome? 'Cause you've been hiding in the shadows of the rubble and debris, and you're still living through a battle. It's been done for many weeks, but listen for the sounds of restoration coming from the streets. Let it remind you you're still alive.
Folks, what's up? Thank you for being here, my mom. Thank you, Mom, for putting it on me. We are live here in the Lion's Den on a Tuesday night, and you are watching Young Lion TV. Let's go.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Yeah, that's right. Young Lion TV is officially live again on this Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. As we're wrapping up, we're in the last month of the year now, getting ready for the big holiday, the big one of the year. You know, it's that time of year again. So
it's the most
wonderful time of the year. Yep. And there we go. And there he goes. He's got his microphone now. But he is the Asian, the coolest Asian in the world, rocking the Jatan shirt and the Young Lion hat. Yeah. I'm loving it. Yeah. He is Mr. Simone Chang.
What's up?
In the building. And, of course, we got the most confusing man in the world. He is the half black, half Indian with the Spanish last name. Looks like Brian Dawkins. Sounds like Alfonso Rivera.
Just racially, he's racially confusing. Intellectually, he's not.
He's not. Very articulate, very direct. Mr. James Garcia is in the building. Yeah. And of course, holding it down on the other couch is also my brother. He's everyone's big brother. He is the preacher, the teacher, the people reacher, Mr. Jacob Eugene Evans III.
They're over there smiling at me, man.
And of course, last but not least, she is the best producer in the world, and she is our mother, Miss Angeli Lopez, in the building.
Dude.
So we want to welcome everybody to the Lion's Den. This is what we do every Tuesday night. When we're home, when we're in the city, when we're available, we do this live stream where we just kind of talk about what's going on in culture. We talk about what's going on in the world. We talk about what's going on in life, and we do it through the lens of our belief in Jesus Christ and our developing our community, which is growing a lot lately, which is cool, man. And we're seeing the fruits of the community that we've been cultivating. It's funny to see. It's funny to see. But
we were talking about that this week.
Yeah, it's good to see how that things start to evolve and shape. So we're trying to spread that to the world and keep that pride going of the Young Lions. And we appreciate all of our Patreon members and all of our Young Lions who are watching right now, who are in the chat. I see Theris already sent some stars. Shout out to Theris. And shout out to all the Patreon members. If you want to become a part of this and become a part of the community that we're building here, the Young Lions, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/YoungLionTV, and sign up to become a member for as little as $3 a month, all the way up to 50. We have a bunch of different tiers. And shout out to, there goes one of the $50 King level Patreon members, Jeffrey, chiming in right there. He said, I be watching. And shout out to him. And yeah, if you want to become a member, you can go on there and sign up, and as easy as that. Also, we have a Cash App that we use if people just want to like drop a couple dollars, or you can send stars through the Facebook, whatever you guys want to do to support what we're doing, because we do kind of just do this because we were being led to have these conversations about things. We would always have these conversations in private, and we were like, you know what? I think people need to see men having these conversations and talking about real things, and show that men don't only sit down and talk about sports and argue over who's the best rapper. You know what I mean? Like, we can have real conversations and hash out issues that are important to community and culture and everything, and also bring God into the picture and show why those things are practical and why they matter. Those values matter. So you guys can become a part of that. Shout out to Jess watching right now, and I see George finally watching. What up, Tuesday Squad? He and Courtney, another King level Patreon member. Shout out to Courtney, who just chimed in the chat. Make sure you guys share this video as well. If that's the only thing you can do to support, we appreciate that as well. Just get the algorithm going a little bit, because we definitely get shadow banned by the live stream. A lot of funny business going on. So share the video, like it if you're watching on any of the platforms. Shout out to the people on YouTube. If you're watching on Rumble, I know Stan is watching over there. One of our missing young lions, the Black Batman hasn't been around in a while, but he has a new baby, so we get it. But yeah, other than that, what else we got going on? We're doing a Christmas concert next Thursday at Foster Square. So
15th? No,
the 14th.
Okay,
if you guys want to come,
the 14th,
December 14th is a Thursday. We're going to be doing a little Christmas performance. Just a quick live thing that we're going to do over there. So that'll be fun. And we're getting ready to drop some new music. And I think that's it, man. What else? Anybody got anything going on they want to talk about? Anything they want to address?
Not on here.
Not on here. Okay. All right. Well, with that in mind, let's get into some stuff. So the first thing I want to get into is shout out to Lisa Sloan, another one of our Pride members. She said blessings to everyone. Blessings to you too, Lisa. Yeah. So one of the first things I want to get into is there was a interview that I sent you guys between one of James's favorite black people.
I didn't even. I clicked on it and I didn't even realize it was him until I started paying. I'm like, wait, I know this guy. I'm like, that's Cam Newton.
Then he actually wanted to watch it after he saw it was Cam Newton. No. But that's we all know him as James's favorite football player of all time, Cam Newton. He is a severe Cam Newton fan. I think that's his favorite black guy ever. Cam Newton. He said that's my type of black guy. No, we always would make fun of James because he was a big. Cam Newton made you a Carolina Panthers fan.
He did,
and you watched him through college, and you were like very hype on Cam Newton, and we would always kind of like push back because we're like, dude, his behavior, right. And then we know how you are with like over the top flashiness, and he was one of those dudes. But he clearly was in this interview.
He was. I watched the whole interview.
Every week they would play, right? They would do a press conference or they would dress up to walk or whatever like that. I would send a screenshot of his ridiculous hats that would be 10 times the size of his head.
Yeah.
He didn't start doing that. Like when he first started, he was more. I think that
he was humble.
Yeah. When he started feeling himself, then
after he won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did they go to the Super Bowl?
He did. He lost. Remember that press conference?
Denver.
That's right.
Remember that press conference when he was like didn't want to talk to nobody?
All his press conferences when he plays bad, it's always like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he has a podcast now, which I didn't even realize. I knew he did from. Like those clips going around where he was interviewing Brittany Renner. That was the first time I realized, he has a podcast. But I guess he's been like getting more and more guests.
Oh yeah,
and-
he's a lot of subscribers.
yeah. So yeah, ton of subscribers.
Yeah.
So he did an interview with Charleston White,
Mm-hmm.
and for those who don't know who Charleston White is, he's become this online figure who is an ex-gang member. He went to prison when he was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been like a youth advocate ever since then and kind of turned his life around. But then he didn't blow up until
He took the Kevin Samuel route.
I think he different than-
Conservative values.
Not
not
really.
necessarily, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he speaks honestly.
He speaks honestly, and he speaks out against the foolishness of black culture a lot. You know,
Yeah, I would say that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of brought him into the limelight with people, because he'll get on lives and he'll talk about rappers.
He's controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
in terms of pushing back against a lot of the black culture. So
And a lot of people think he's just doing a character
Yeah.
just for the clout and for the clicks, and they think it's not real. It's just a money grab. That's, I don't really know, but it doesn't negate a lot of stuff that he's saying. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we'll get into some of that. But one of the first things I wanted to get into was he talks about how he grew up in a Christian household. His mom was always quoting the scriptures and always praying, and but him as a young black boy, he really didn't understand. He didn't get with all of that, because everything around him was showing him that none of that mattered. So I kind of want to get into that a little bit, go through the clip where he was talking about that, and then we can discuss it a little bit. So I have it right here. You can pull it up, Mom.
One thing that I do believe in is accountability. One thing I do believe in is making sure that I don't judge.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me get it. The audio. Audio's not working right. Watch your ears now.
So much so that it reigns supreme of everything in my life. I think sometimes as Christians, we can't have this judgmental attitude.
One of the first things some of the most devout Christians do when you go to
hold
church
on,
is
go
where
back
you
so we can hear that again, because I kind of missed the beginning.
He said Christians can have a judgmental
No, but
attitude.
before that.
I mean, he really didn't. What that didn't.
But we're going to have a good time today, because one thing that I do believe in is accountability. One thing I do believe in is making sure that I don't judge, right?
Yeah.
Even though in my religion I love it so much so that it reigns supreme of everything in my life, I think sometimes as Christians, we
What you laughing at?
His shirt.
Dude, how about the whole set? The whole set.
No, don't it say something about, what does it say? I'm the ish or something?
Yeah.
can't have this judgmental attitude.
one of the first things some of the most devout Christians do when you go to church is where you been. I ain't seen you. And so when you go, if you go to church and then you don't go to church and you come back to church, the church will make you feel shame in their judgment.
I want to hear that again, because it's he says, I don't judge. And then he talks about Christians having judgmental attitudes. And sorry. And I think like in one way I get it, but in another way, like we use that as you can't judge anybody.
This guy slurping
Like,
on the
he
mic.
says, I do believe in accountability. Like that's judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you just have to do it in the right way. You got to judge in the right way.
Yeah, holding
You can't-
people accountable is judging certain things. Like,
Yeah, it's there's a difference between judging people and condemning them,
Right.
and then judging what they do.
Right.
Yes.
Especially if they profess to be believers.
Yeah, and that's one of the weapons that I think like atheists and just non-believers or people that are annoyed with Christians use all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
which I think is what Charleston gets into.
right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like we've talked about that before. There's a difference between being people put judgmental and condemnation in the same. It's not the same thing.
No.
Because you could be a good judge of character.
Yeah.
All of these kind of things, like to judge a situation. I think people misunderstand that, and
Yeah.
they think you're condemning someone. You have the power.
They always quote that, "Judge not, lest ye be judged."
Right. It's
From the
like
scripture, and use that as the weapon. Aren't you Christians supposed to not judge people? That means
Yeah.
you can't tell me about myself.
Yeah, you
because
shouldn't
you're
weigh in
not
on
supposed
this.
to judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it says about people in the if you're in the spirit, you can judge all things.
Yeah.
And so that again, that's not the same. Like there's even in the Greek, like there's a word you can say judge, but it's condemning. When you condemn something, it's like when you go to court, judgment is set, right? But when you're judging a matter, you're discerning something. That's different. You're working it out, right? That's what we're doing. When we hold each other accountable, we're working things out, right? So that's different. Like, and a lot of times Christians don't. Well, people, the outside don't get that at all, but even Christians don't get that.
Right. All right, so let's keep going with this.
Shame in their judgmental approach. Well, where you been? We ain't seen you in a while. So I get it. It's a very, and I wouldn't identify as a Christian, but I have Christian values and beliefs. I believe in Jesus. I believe that he's the son of God. I just don't take the title as a Christian. Man, I just believe. I just believe.
So what are you?
A believer.
That don't make you a Christian?
No. Because I also like to sin. And most Christians don't admit that they like to sin.
But you do understand that Jesus died for all our sins.
Yeah, that's why I sin. That's why I sin and just say, I pick my sins wisely.
Okay, but you know you're not perfect.
I don't want to be perfect.
I think that is true.
But my saying is, most Christians don't admit that they like to sin.
Most people can't admit to the sins that they do.
That they like to do. See, some that we do, but we also got some secret ones that we like to do.
But that's everybody. That's not Christians.
To me, that is just like redundant. Like most of the stuff you do that you don't want to do, but you have pleasure in doing it, it's because it's pleasurable, right? But you have to put it in the right context. That's the problem. The reason why I sin is it's perverted.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to learn how to live. We have to twist things back to the right standing, or we have to come out of perversion. Right.
Yeah, but I also kind of see where he's going with this, because like one thing about Charleston White you got to understand is like he will say things in a way to remove all of the social like facades that we've set up as society a lot of times, and Christians do this a lot too, where it's like they will do the we're all sinners, and but they won't be real about like like there's things that I do that I know I like to do, but I won't speak on those. You know what I mean?
I think I was going to add to what you're saying. I think one of the things Charleston White does well is disarm people with the talking points rhetoric.
Yeah.
So he's saying all of this stuff, but he's wearing a shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What does it say? It says,
ish is lit.
That's what it says? I can't.
Well, ish is lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like I think Charlton likes to disarm people from these talking points, like you said. It's like over time, people just get...
Yeah, people get used to saying certain things. They get used to like using certain things as ways to cover up or create these little bubbles and these little masks around themselves. And I think a lot of times his approach is like he says things in a very direct way to eliminate all of that. So you can't use that as a weapon against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'll say...
But I think he also misses... like in that you can miss the point of the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
That's what I'm like. You can go too far to where you miss the whole point. Mm-hmm. And I think he does that a lot.
Yeah.
Because of his focus. He focuses a lot from what I watched like most of this interview. Mm-hmm. He focuses a lot on trying to deal with cultural stuff that most people do. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, I think when you focus on it so much, you kind of like, it's like the pendulum. Like you go all the way the other way, and then you kind of miss the point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Muslim, Hinduism, that's just everybody as humanity.
When the FBI studied Malcolm and when they studied Martin, one went and spoke and came back to the hotel and prayed and talked on the phone with his wife, and they don't have no dirt on him. He was Muslim. The other one went and spoke and came back to the room and partied and fucked like a motherfucker in every town he went to. That was the Christian. So it's a difference. One was studied full time.
How you know that though?
Because
now you're using my platform trying to bring all this speculation of Martin Luther King.
Because it's documented evidence. The FBI said that Malcolm X was a saint compared to the doctor. It's very well documented that Dr. Martin Luther King was just like any man. He was a whoremongering preacher. It's documented. Compared to Malcolm, who has no documentation of doing anything such like the preacher. See the difference?
I hear exactly what you're saying, but that doesn't necessarily rectify you not being unknown to your religion. I think.
I don't want to be a religious man. I don't want to be Muslim. I don't want to be Christian. I don't want to be Hindu because I don't pick up the books. I want to be able to grab hold to the spirit.
Yes, sir.
Most of the people who I heard talk the books and can recite the books don't show the spirit.
Yeah.
They can't access the spirit.
But this is where I can agree with you, but also it's for me to also admonish you to say you use your platform for people to receive the word in your own right. You see what I'm saying?
I don't deliver the word because I don't know the word. I walk with the spirit. My mother and them know the word. I don't know the word. I hadn't picked up the Bible to read the word. I got the spirit. Because when I wanted the word, I couldn't get the word. I was locked away in a cell and they wouldn't give me the Bible. So for some strange reason, I was able to access the spirit. That's the spirit that Jesus said that will write God's word upon your heart. I don't want to be Christian because Christians can't access the spirit. They all got the word. I don't want the word, God. I want your spirit. Because it says with this spirit that I can do greater works than Jesus. There's no Christian I ever heard to say they can do greater works than Jesus. And Jesus himself said that you can do greater works with this spirit. So I don't want the Christian word. Give me that spirit Jesus was talking about that raised the dead, that allows you to walk on water. I ain't seen a Christian walk on water yet.
But isn't that the truth for you to understand and say, yo, I'm going to be what I've never seen?
If you had never seen it, you can't become it. So I watched my mother take care of children. I watched my mother feed people with her word of God. I watched my mother pray to get my grandmother off drugs. I watched my mother use the word of God. Okay, mama, that word worked good enough for you, but I need the spirit. The things that I've gotten involved in and the things that I do and the things that I face, the word ain't gonna help me, mama. I need the spirit. So if I was to stand, I ain't got no help or nothing. So that's it.
What's that? The next video?
Yeah, that's the next part.
Okay. Yeah. So thoughts.
What spirit is he under?
Well, I think what he's trying to get at is like, because he said he don't want to be religious, and I understand what he's saying. Like, there's a lot of Christians walking around here going to church every Sunday, but it's just words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no power behind it.
Right. But then you throw the words out, which doesn't make sense.
Right.
So what spirit, like Mom said, what does that even mean? How many people say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual?
Right.
Right. There's nothing wrong with being religious. There's a problem with being legalistic. That's different. Religion is, to be religious is to practice the things that grow you in the spirit, right? Or to practice the things that grow you in a spirit.
Right.
So how are you going to know that though without God's words?
Right.
Without the word.
Yeah. Well,
without studying of how you're supposed to live.
Yeah. Well,
where does that come from?
Right. What God are you worshiping?
Exactly.
You don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What spirit are you following?
Yeah.
I want to. I didn't want to cut off the video, but when he was talking about Dr. Martin Luther King and
Malcolm X
versus Malcolm X, it just reminded me of how, because the black culture would be upset at him for saying stuff like that.
I think that's why he's doing that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it just reminded me of how, I would critique Obama and they would get mad.
Right.
And that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's how
it's worship. Like, it's celebrity worship.
Yeah.
And he
exactly.
he
talks
does
about
say
that.
something about that, but it's like in black culture a lot. We look at people and we want to put them on a pedestal, to look at and
They even have a phrase for it, black excellence.
right.
You know what I
And
mean?
we want to venerate them. You know what I mean? We want to worship them. So I get what he's doing there.
It's called. There's a lot of people that do it. Even in other cultures too, they do it. They attack the sacred cows. You know what I mean? Because those are things that we've built as idols, and sometimes you have to attack them to expose to people that these are idols.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But see, that's even, you're judging.
right.
Like, you're judging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you do judge.
Yeah.
It's just you do it in your own way, right? And that's why it's like when people say I don't judge, it's so wrong. You can't. Any decision you make in your life, any choice you make is a judgment. You know what I mean? You're always judging.
Right.
Can't do anything in this world. I'm gonna go do this. Judgment. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You can't do anything in this world if you don't judge. And then everything that you do becomes the way you see the world.
Yeah.
You know, what you think and then do it. That's how you see the world.
Yeah. So they started out with that, with like establishing, and the thing is, I think he was also, again, trying to talk. He was trying to escape that trap of like, are you a Christian? Because that is
I saw
also
that too.
that is also something that is kind of used to put you in this box of like, well, then you should be living like this. You know what I mean? So I think part of his approach there was like, I need to escape that trap of like, are you a Christian? What are you? What do you believe in? And he said, I believe in Jesus. I believe he's the Son of God.
I'm a believer.
Yeah. He said, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
You know,
But then what he's saying don't match up.
Don't match.
I mean, depending on, you know how many people say they believe in Jesus?
No.
Or
but,
people that say they're Christians.
But again, it's what comes out of your mouth
Right.
that defines who you are. It's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you. It's what comes out of your mouth, right? You have to listen to somebody. You know what's in their heart, right? By listening to what comes out of their mouth. So
Or their actions.
yeah, but I mean, your actions can even what comes out of your mouth can be something else. You know? But I'm saying, as you in the challenging times, right? As you're pressed, and that's when you really see who somebody is, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, he's doing that, but it's not lining up.
Yeah. Well, I think I watch the whole thing too.
Yeah.
I think he understands what Cam is trying to do. Cam is asking him certain questions to kind of show him that what he's doing is unchristian like.
Yeah.
And he is trying to establish that you're not going to put me in your idea,
Your box.
of what this is, because I'm going to show you a couple of things about the culture and about the things you believe. Because obviously, by watching him, you could tell the way he talks, the way he conducts himself. He's really not, a Christian or a believer per se. He says that, but he doesn't even say he is a Christian either. So he's just kind of reciting what he's been taught.
Yeah.
But he knows what Cam is doing by trying to set him up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And
he sees that.
I mean, by him professing that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died for our sins, he is a believer. But he just maybe...
It doesn't mean you're a believer.
No.
How can you be...
You believe, but you are at a certain place. You know what I'm saying? You know how many people... So you're not...
To be a believer is to trust in him. How are you going to trust him how do you trust in him if you don't know what he says? Mormons believe he's the Son of God. Like, that don't make them believers. You know what I mean? They don't... Yeah. Mormons believe that he's the Son of God. They just don't. They just see it differently. You have to go deeper to see what they actually mean,
And
right? But they still say it.
Jehovah's Witness believe that there's the Son of God.
Yeah, but then you have to go deeper to see what they actually mean. You know what I mean? So no, you can't just say, "Yeah, I believe Jesus is the Son of God," and then that makes you a believer. Even that gets perverted.
But I'm saying that's what is used to. That's what most Christians say. You're a believer if you confess if you profess that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died for our sins.
Yeah,
then you are a believer.
That's not.
You are saved. You know what I'm saying?
That's not. I wouldn't define it as that. I would define it as you trusting in Jesus, in his resurrection. I mean, in his death and resurrection. That's the foundation, because that's literally the new communion or the New Testament.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but in that you have to die, and you have to be raised
but
up
that's a deeper understanding of it.
No, but it's the bottom line, because even in the baptism, right? The baptism of the baptism of water, it's that symbol of that, and also there's things that happen in that, and then even the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So
but we don't know if he,
I know.
We
but
we
I
don't know his walk.
I know by what's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I get what Jamie is trying to say. Like we
But-
don't know where he's at
We don't know where he's
in
at,
in
but-
his walk, but
But the word of God says you will know them by their fruit, and he doesn't even read the word of God. How in the world is he going to know anything?
I would say that there's truths that he knows.
I'm just saying, based off of, there's a lot of Christians and a lot of people that are established Christians that wouldn't agree with you. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying,
Yeah, but
I'm saying. So you're saying a deeper understanding of things. I'm saying by the tradition of what people say makes you a believer. He has professed those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
just because he doesn't read the word, you know how many Christians don't read the word?
But
Yeah.
that's
Do you know
what-
how many Christians never pick up
I
a Bible?
understand that,
Yeah,
but
but
what
it's
I'm trying
different
to
when
say,
when you say
right.
you don't read the word and that the word ain't for me. Like that's different, bro. That's
mean,
different. He's literally saying
I don't even know if that's necessarily
Exactly
true
what he-
because how many times did he quote the word in this interview?
but probably from the stuff he heard from his mom or his grandma.
I'm just saying, like, that's an assumption you're making. You know what I mean?
You're right, but I'm just like I got to take him by what he said. Like he said that. That's what he said. He said, I go by the Spirit. Okay, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? Like, you need both.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying there's when you talk about what people consider a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. It's literally what he just did. That's what most people consider a Christian. They say they believe in Jesus. They say he died for our sins and he's the son.
But he also
he's the son of
brings
God.
up. He also brings up Islam. I don't know.
He just brought that up to make a point about the preacher having worse behavior than the Muslim. That was the point where he brought.
Not there. Later on, I think he brings up Islam. Let's just keep watching.
Okay.
And we'll see.
5, it's 7. So from 7 to 12, I had 9 eye surgeries. So I never really got to go to school. So I had a private tutor. It's things that I remember education-wise that I don't know how I got this knowledge. They don't teach us about Jim Brown in school. Nigga, I know everything about Jim Brown, the abolitionists. I got knowledge and information but that white tutor, I had a white tutor in the 80s coming to my home to teach me. So I was groomed to be an intellectual. So I didn't really get to go to school to the 6th grade. By the time I got to the 6th grade, I caught a capital murder case in the 8th grade. So I'm an institutionalized baby from medicine, hospitals, to now incarceration. I'm a book-driven baby. I've been reading books all my life. I ain't been outside playing. I ain't played no sports. I've been reading books. I've got a brain full of knowledge. I've been watching television, studying movies and actors. That's how I can act. So what you see now is a product of a system. Nigga, I'm an educational baby. That's why my knowledge and my articulation is what it is, because when I went into the system, I began to read more books. So when niggas was playing dominoes and watching rap videos, I was reading Danielle Steele Love novels. So I'm very charismatic. I'm very charming.
Out of all those books that you had access to, you ain't never had access to a Bible?
Yeah. I refused to read the Bible because I couldn't, as a kid, I couldn't connect to the language that the Bible wrote. Thou art. My understanding couldn't comprehend that.
Okay. Were you coherent to understand?
I found that to be when I first watched this, I found that as a contradiction because I'm like, wait, you said they wouldn't let you read the Bible, but now you're saying you refuse to read the Bible,
Yeah.
which was a contradiction to me. I'm like, okay,
Maybe he.
if I was Cam, I would have asked him about that. Like, wait, you just said you didn't have access; they wouldn't let you read the Bible.
But I was going to say is you kind of have to understand what Cam is trying to do.
Yeah.
Cam is trying to set him up to question why he does the things he does. So he's trying to set the tone, the table for, do you consider yourself this, then why do you do that?
Right.
That's what he's doing.
Right, because Cam considers himself a Christian.
A Christian.
Right.
Right.
But he wouldn't want you calling out all the things he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
I think even the way he sees a lot of it, is
Who, Cam?
Cam, yeah.
Yeah. But he's a Christian. He's a believer.
Right.
You know what
And
I'm
if
saying?
if you watch the whole interview, there's one particular person that Cam has an issue.
Yes.
with that's what he's going for.
Yeah. And I think that I have some clips with some of that.
Okay.
All right, let's keep
I
going.
think that there were different versions of the Bible. Too.
Yeah, I understand about the council when they introduced Cesar Bagaria as the white man with the blonde hair, and they took out pieces of the Bible. So I know the Bible have been dissected to brainwash, to control.
Yes, sir.
So what I did was,
But not more or less that level. I'm talking about the international version.
I understand it, but as a kid, you don't know that.
Yes, sir.
As a kid, you don't know to pick up this book and say, okay, they got a King James version. Okay, you don't know this. All you know is here, read the Bible. They said read the Bible, and you can't really understand what the preacher's saying.
Correct.
But I have a mother who are quoting scriptures, and I'm hearing her say these scriptures, but they're not making no sense. All things work for the good of those who love God, is called according to his will and his purpose. Mama, I'm locked up here for murder, and I'm gonna be here for 4 years. How is this gonna work for my good? But she's trying to explain this to me, and I'm saying, man, shit don't make no sense. I'm rejecting everything she's saying. For one, most kids reject what their parents teach them, because you think the world know more than your parents. So this ain't making sense, mama. This God that so loved the world that'll give us his son, then why this kid over here get molested if God love us? Where my daddy at, mama, if God's so good? You keep hiding about God good. How he good? How? And so it ain't making sense.
So you don't believe in this scripture, raise up a child in the way he should go?
As a kid, don't no scripture make sense. I know it now.
That's of course.
So, but as a kid, it says train up a child.
Yeah.
How many parents are really training? We're raising our kids. We ain't training them. That's why when they get in situations, they don't go to their training to make good choices. When police get in situations, they go to their training. They training is to shoot. Shoot. Where? Shoot to kill. Why you didn't shoot him in the leg? Because he was in a situation where he had to fall back on his training, and there's a silhouette where they're trained to shoot center mass. So that's why they don't shoot you in the leg. So what training are we giving our children where they get in a situation where they choose the training? We're not training. We raise our kids. How do we raise them? Food, shelter, clothing. We ain't training these kids. We ain't training these motherfuckers. So we ain't trained. We got to go to work. Mama got to go to work. Daddy cross town playing stepdaddy, making more babies. Who training us? Nobody. We're being indoctrinated at school, and we're being programmed by the culture. Who's training us? So we can train up a child. That's why the kids ain't going no way, because ain't nobody training them. They're raising them. They're providing good homes, good clothes, good foods. But other than that, there's no training. So,
and that's if you live in a certain community. You know, I think a lot of what he's speaking to here is especially an issue in like the inner city black culture, is where it's like, a lot of these mothers are in church and are quoting the Bible a lot of times, especially from his generation growing up. And I know even like people our age, their mothers. But it doesn't connect with these young boys because they're looking at everything that's going on in their life. They're looking at the situation they're in. They're looking at, you know, every man in their life is basically saying, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? That's just a bunch of nonsense. So how is a young boy supposed to connect with these words? You know,
Not just that, but I think part of it too is church has become especially what I've seen is this, that we don't know what those kids are witnessing you do the week before you go to church on Sunday,
right?
And see behavior that they know that you went out of a club on. So there's a lot of things,
right?
And from a childlike standpoint, it may not make sense,
but
kids watch your life.
Yeah,
they watch how you handle situations.
They see you cussing out everybody that you talk to on the phone, or that you when you with your friends, you always cussing everybody out. They see that, and then you in church saying, you know, yeah. So kids pick up on the hypocrisy of things. They hear the story. They see the preacher. The preacher always seems like he talks just like the pimps talk. You know what I mean? So it's like they make that connection.
Right. I remember as a kid, my uncle was talking to a pastor, and he didn't know that I was in the car, and I heard him speak like without pastor voice,
putting the church on it. Yeah.
And when he realized I wasn't there, he totally changed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I remember you guys caught the pastor with somebody's wife. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, kids.
We were too young, but you know,
kids that don't have an understanding, that stuff shapes them, because you're looking at church, you're looking at the Bible, and then you look at your surroundings in life, and you're like, wait, this is not adding up. And you don't have anybody in your life. There's no fathers or men in your life to establish that practicality, that foundation of why it does line up. There's no one there to show you. There's no one to make that connection for you. So you're left to try to make these connections on your own, and you can't find any.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that word train, like train up a child, that's the same word that you would use to dedicate. Like even how they dedicated the temple.
Yeah.
Right? How they consecrated. So even in that, like, as you train a child, you're to dedicate a temple is to set it apart, right? To consecrate it, you're setting it apart.
Yeah.
So you're setting your child apart. How do you do that? You have to discipline him, right?
You have to prepare them.
It's not a woman's job.
Yeah.
It's a women help, but it's a man's job. It's a man's job to bring application and to make it relational,
Right.
to life, right? That's more of the man's job than a woman. That's why, like, men, it's hard a lot of times for men to get church because a lot of times it's so abstract that it's not understandable in terms of how you just apply it to everyday life.
Right.
So I think in that case, like, men have dropped the ball, especially in the black family. And I think a lot of it was an attack.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying an attack from white people. I'm saying it's a demonic attack, right? To keep them in a place where they're run over, right? Overcome. But if we just look at this, like, this is the cycle. If you continue to be like, look what they did to us, or yeah, this is what happened, like almost the like conspiracy stuff that is true, right? But then people say it's a conspiracy. You never take responsibility. All you're doing is pointing the finger, placing blame. But when you say, let's change this, it starts with you.
Yeah.
All right, let's change this. Who's going to start it? Somebody's got to start it. It just reminds me of like when we sold our first CD, right?
Yeah.
I remember we were at Sisters, right? Outside, bunch of women out there, and Dave's like, all right, who's gonna sell the first CD? We don't have CDs. We're gonna sell a CD. We don't have CDs. Who's gonna do it? And I just was like, all right, let's do it. I'll start it. You know, and that's not everybody's job to start, but for men, I think when they see that it's applied, it's easier for them to jump in. You know what I mean? And I think more than anything, like, men need to see that example of like, oh, okay. And then they're with it. And then they add to it what the one who started it can't even do. You know?
Right.
It grows and it becomes something fuller and greater and then so now you start that, but then the next generation can grow even more. But again,
and in that clip, Cam said something about like, well, don't you think that you should be what you've never seen? And he's spoke right to what you're saying. Like, how can you be something you've never seen before?
right.
You know what I mean? You don't see that. You have never seen that application.
Yeah.
He's talking to him as a grown man.
Yeah.
But he's referring to as a child. I was going to say something. I'll say, I think too, sometimes, you know, we say words and we have an idea what they mean, but we really don't look into it. Training is hard. Any type of training is hard.
Yeah.
If you want to get in shape,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to train, and it's not gonna feel comfortable getting up and going to the gym. It's not gonna feel comfortable eating the right food. It's not gonna feel comfortable passing the drive-thru when you're tired and you know you got to go home and cook, but you rather stop at McDonald's and get a number 2 and go home and chill and watch your favorite episode. It's not gonna be easy to come home when you're tired and do homework with your kids because they're falling behind. It's not gonna be easy when you want a baby bad, but you're up all night. You got to change poopy diapers. The next 3 years of your life is like this. That all of those things that's part of training.
Yeah,
training is not easy. This is why in the services they have regular infantrymen, but then they as they move up to Army Ranger, Special Forces, SEALs. Those are already established soldiers, but they got to go to even more special training to prove that you deserve to be here.
Yeah.
Because what's going to be required of you is going to be that much more strenuous and extensive. And I think what we don't understand is this. When it comes to family, building a home, establishing a household as a man and a wife, a husband and a wife, that's going to take some form of training too.
Yeah.
Right. And then then how do we talk about kids? You got to train yourself how to be frugal, how to pull back. You can't buy that $1,000 Beyonce ticket. You can't go spend $5,000 on season tickets at the Eagle. That takes training too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the word training sometimes training really we know training. It's a form of repetition, right? But it's really detailed because you have to put this stuff into practice to get good at that. And training also involves you withholding yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to withhold that, and that's what people can't do.
Yeah. And I think like as children, like even in terms of being a believer, you're a child being raised, right? You're being
Trained.
raised, you're being trained, but you're being raised up, right? So to be, and what he said, like we raise kids, we don't train kids, right? And you can look at it like this, like how many people want to be the thing, want to be exalted, want to be the wife, want to be the husband, right? But never went through the preparation.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to be what it looks like to them.
Yeah.
Right? But then it don't work out because there's a lot of divorces that happen. So obviously it don't work out. You want to be the father, but now they're divorced. It's a lot harder to be a father when you're divorced, right? And then you start another family, right? It's a lot harder to do these things when you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But when so what I'm saying is that you're raising yourself up instead of humbling yourself. You know, we got to humble ourselves, and that's what we do with God. Everybody wants to build a house. Everybody wants to build a life, build something that looks great.
Yeah.
Right? Builds a structure for people to be in awe of. Right? But how do you know that thing is built in perfection? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like something that I saw from what he was saying, like when he was talking, the whole thing, like from the word, I don't read the word, to, you know, the spirit, whatever. I look at it like this. Like if you look at John 4, Jesus she's asking, where should we worship? Right. And because she's a Samaritan, they worship on this mountain that is, I'm not going to go into all that, right? But it's in the area that they are, and they're saying you guys worship in Jerusalem, and she's trying to say what's right, and he's like, there's going to come a time then when you won't have to worship on either, right? And he says you'll worship in spirit and in truth.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, like, well, who's the truth?
Jesus.
So you worship in Jesus, right? And the Spirit is the Holy Spirit, right? So when you look at that, Jesus is the Word is the material, right? But you need to be guided. You need to be led into all truth by the Holy Spirit, so you know how to set up the building. So you know how to put that material to work, right? So you know how to build it. That's what the Holy Spirit does for us.
So the word, you're saying the word is the raw material.
The word is the raw material. When you read the Bible,
Spirit is the wisdom to know what to do with that.
right?
Right.
It leads you and guides you into all truth. That's why, like, true worship has to happen in action as you put the word to work. But you can't put the word to work if you don't know, if you can't see it. Right. Like you said, you got to be able to see it. Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to even have a physical example. You really have to see it with your heart. Right. Your spiritual eyes. Right. And once you see that, now you can apply it. That's faith. Faith comes by hearing. I hear it. What happens when you hear? You get an image, right? You see. Faith comes by hearing the word of Christ. So when I hear the word of Christ, I start to see it. But that only happens by the Holy Spirit, right? That's how it works.
Okay.
That's how we learn how to build, right? So if we're reading the Bible and we don't have the Holy Spirit, we're just reading the Bible, and now we're making our own conclusions on stuff that it says.
Right.
And we have nobody leading us into all truth.
Right.
So we might get some truths, but think about it. It's like trying to build a house and you really don't know what order to build it in, or where these materials go and where so you got a bunch of knowledge, right? You got a bunch of material, but you don't know what it looks like. You
might have a grasp on certain concepts of building a house, but you may not understand how to get everything square and level, and
But or even how, like, well, this stuff is for this thing. This is for the roof. You can't use the same things you use for the roof, for the walls, right?
Right.
Everything is for it's a certain purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that can be using stuff for the roof, for the walls, and if they don't know no better, they can tell you, "No, this is for the walls."
Yeah.
You know? And if again, you don't know any better, they will trick you and they will deceive you. And that's my point. Like, so in a lot of times we don't know no better because we're not holding ourselves accountable, and who's holding us accountable?
Yeah. And as a child, I mean, I do agree that as a child, it can be difficult, you know, reading the older Testament. But I think too, there has to be some clarity, right? There's a difference between reading and studying, right? But I think what's missing sometimes is this: what parents will do, especially when they're trying to raise children in a church setting, is they sort of expect the church to do all the work, and they don't. They take you to church, take you to Sunday school, and what did you learn? And that's the end of that. They don't. They never say. They never have a dialogue to say, "What did you learn today?" "Oh, I learned about this and so." Why? What's your take on it? I think we just put them in there. It's like same thing like sending kids to school today. You send them and you don't have that dialogue. Well, why do you think that? Or asking them, what's your take on it? So you could see where they are.
Yeah.
So what would happen, right? Let's say a kid say, I don't understand it. I don't understand the thou and the thee. What a lot of parents would do is sort of rebut by, you just need to go. And the kid realized, well, that's mom don't like when I say this. So they'll just tell the parents what they think they want to hear. Well, it was good.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that. What we never do, because what I hear is this: he went to church because he was forced to. So he had a disdain for being told what to do. So he ain't want to read that because I had the these and the thou and that. So he already has a disdain for it. So probably when he said that, he said it in a way which an ignorant child would probably say, I don't want to read that stuff. And then the mom or the dad or whoever, but he says mom, just say, do it anyway.
Yeah, his dad wasn't around.
Right. Do it anyway.
But that's what that's my point with a lot of women that don't have men, right? And they're just by themselves. A lot of times they're more focused on, well, you got to do this, but they miss the point, right? So they're looking more at like the image that they don't understand, where they're like, well, you should be reading the Bible, right? So read the Bible. You know, you should be doing this. You should be going to church, so go to church.
Right.
And then when you're getting pushed back, it turns into like yelling and like spanking, or you know what I mean?
Right, because you're defining
instead of like, if they're saying they don't want to, then there's a disconnect, and they already made up. Again, they already made up a judgment, right? They're saying that the Bible is dumb. It doesn't make sense. They've already made up a conclusion. They've already made up a judgment. If I ask them questions, I'm going to get to the bottom eventually of why they made up that conclusion, right? What are the reasons behind that? That's how men deal with things. And I'm not saying women can't,
Right.
because they can. But what I'm saying is that men learn how to do that, right? And because we're supposed to be challenging, right? Challenging each other, challenging our wives, challenging our kids.
Right.
That's men's role,
But
right?
that's training though.
Right.
That's training.
Yeah. One of the things my dad did, because I had similar questions about, I wouldn't be as as rambunctious as him, but I would ask my dad certain questions, and my dad would say, "There's nothing new under the sun," and he's like, and he would show me, he would let me at least give me a chance to ask. And then we would go, so he would show like where disobedience, you know, he would Balaam, Jonah. He would show me little things. And I think a lot of times what I'm trying to say is when kids pick up on the fact that you just want them to do something, they'll just do it so you get off
shut
of
you
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll just do it.
But they need to know.
Or they'll make you think they did it.
They make you think they did it.
Yeah.
But they need to know the purpose behind it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Or else there's no real understanding.
I'm just going to do it. Whatever.
It's just like if you go to school and you study just to pass the test.
That's really a thing, by the way.
Yeah.
There are people who could just take tests. They're good at that.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays there's people that do these. They pay money online to have people do their work for them. It's just so they could pass and get a degree. But then you're screwing yourself because once you graduate, you know nothing. You haven't learned what it is you.
And then that's a problem too because, well, I mean, it's a whole nother thing. But how much stuff are we learning just for the sake of learning?
Yeah.
Right.
That discourages us from really wanting to get to understand stuff. If it was more about the purpose behind it,
Yeah.
then it would make more sense. There's a reason why most people don't understand geography
Right.
whatsoever. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
But you know that people don't know most states or where a state is,
Right.
let alone countries.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. I think in his simple way, I think part of it is like, imagine going to a church and all you ever learn is how to put your feet on the pedals, and that's all you're learning. I mean, you can tell everybody about the pedals, but you don't know how to get from here to down there, and that's years and years of your life. You're really good at. I can get my feet on there, boy, but you can't go anywhere. And I think that's what it is. A lot of people just go for the sake of going. Grandma, your mom, you need to do it too.
Yeah.
So there's no explanation of the quickness, the quickening of the heart and the spirit when you go, when you see, there's nothing. You're just going because you're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will say this, and I think this is a huge strength with women, especially women in the church. Because I can attest to this, doing music and being out there and doing the things we were doing. But yet my mom was praying for us, doing music, doing stuff we knew we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But yet my mom was praying for us.
And
right?
women are great at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a strength
Standing in the gap.
I think
Yeah.
they were built for that. Like,
Yeah.
And that does work. I just told my wife that. I said, your mom stood and declared over her family. And
Yeah.
that is true.
So I think like women are great at holding on, like persevering and keeping their children alive.
Yeah.
Even, you know what I mean? Like in terms of prayer.
Yeah.
Like we don't know. I'm pretty sure I could have probably died a few times that I didn't know about, or things could have happened to me, but yet my mom was praying for me.
Right.
They're
Right.
advocators.
And-
They're
right.
advocating for you.
But I think that it's men's job to learn how to loose the right things and bind the right things in terms of these things should not even be something that you should be praying for, because they shouldn't even be in our vicinity of a problem. You get what I mean?
Right.
Like that's what men need to be doing. Women, because then women don't have to focus on these. Like there's so many women praying for their sons that they won't get killed in the streets.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't even be, if men would step up, that wouldn't even be in the prayer view. Right? So that could change.
Yeah. That's a great point. All right, let's keep going.
As a kid, your parents are trying to introduce you to God, but you looking at the circumstances in a situation that y'all growing up in. So God ain't making sense to children no more. It ain't making sense. That's because when I go to school, the kids at school ain't blessing their food, but you got me blessing my food. It ain't making sense. Ain't nobody at school blessing their food, so I'm supposed to go to school and pray over my food. No, I ain't doing that, Mom. Because my peers supersede what you're trying to teach me if you don't have a bunch of money to buy my attention. So my mother was financially stable to buy our attention.
So again, he's talking about it doesn't make sense practically in everyday life.
Right.
Because there's no one there to show him why it does. You know what I
Right.
mean? So to him, he's looking at like, well, if I can't make sense of this amongst my peers, or if it ain't making money, it ain't making sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And again, like for men, if we have a purpose, like coaching soccer, if I don't give those kids a purpose and where they're playing and what their role is,
Yeah.
then they kind of like fall apart. Once they know what their purpose is and what they're doing, they start to flourish, right?
Yeah.
They start to shine if they really want to do it. Like, but you see that so much once you, because a lot of times they're in their own heads because they don't get their purpose, right?
Right.
I don't want to play this. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. But why do you? So then you like, why do you want to do this? Oh, because I want to be. Everybody wants to be a striker.
Everybody
right?
wants to score goals.
Everybody wants to score goals, right?
Yeah.
But why do you want to score goals? Because that's what they see, and they want to be Ronaldo or they want to be Messi, right?
Yep.
But then they don't realize, like, dude, strikers barely get the ball.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
don't know that.
Strikers do a lot of work
Yeah.
for
My
a little
son
bit
hates,
of reward.
he's the striker on the team, but he hates playing striker.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to play striker because he's like, he barely gets the ball.
Yeah.
You know, but he's moving, barely gets the ball. So, but he knows when I tell him, but nobody else can do it. So you're going to have to do it. Right. And you can do it. You see the movements, you can do it. And once he gets that, he's going to go out there and do it because now he knows his purpose, right? So a lot of times it gets past like, well, I don't want to do it. But then he knows, okay, I have a purpose. This is why I'm going to do it, right? It'll supersede your feelings.
Yeah.
That's, for men, that's important. Who wants to go to war?
Right.
Nobody. What man wants to go to war? But when you know deep down inside there is a purpose,
Yeah.
you're
And a
going to
duty.
war.
Yeah.
And men, part of what men can do, especially for boys, is this: explain that overcoming yourself, the inner man, is the greatest battle you'll fight. But once you learn to overcome that urge to want to do that thing that you know you shouldn't be doing, and if somebody was around and looking, you wouldn't do it. But knowing that you can fight and beat that inner man, there's triumph and victory in that.
Right.
You know, that's what it is. If you can control the inner man, like I always say, every man has a pair of eyes. We could see women, especially today, the way women dress. But there's victory in a woman walking by scantily clad and you not falling for that trap of going, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
and not doing that.
Yep.
Not because you're like, well, I have daughter. It's beating the inner man. You shouldn't feel guilty because you have daughters and you have need, but it's the victory is for you. That you don't fall victim to
Yeah.
that doesn't sway you.
Yeah. It doesn't control you.
That doesn't control you.
Yeah. So I want to move on to another clip from the podcast. This is when they kind of get more into the controversy around him basically talking crap on Deion Sanders and who's the rapper that he was talking crap on?
Nipsey Hussle and King Von.
Yeah, King Von and Nipsey Hussle. So, of course, you know, in the black community, we've seen this in the past. Anytime it's about those sacred cows, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you criticize the sacred cow, they will come for you.
And
They
Cam's
will-
an athlete too.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So
he's gonna, of course, defend anything about Deion Sanders or have to show that he's defending it in order for his social circles, you know. But my focus on this is more about how he's defending the actions of King Von. You know what I mean? So let's play a little
Who's
bit.
King
of that.
Von?
He was a Chicago rapper.
he's dead now.
Yeah, but he was like, you know, he was on his records talking about people that he killed all the time, and they call him a serial killer.
No, the FBI labeled him that.
Yeah, because
From what he did.
he murdered so many people. But people worship him as a rapper. You know, people worship him, and you'll see Cam Newton even defending him.
Has some truth to it. It's just the delivery. You standing. There's no denying that you're standing for and by your people.
Well, here's the thing. When you're addressing evil, you can't worry about the delivery. When you're looking at the conditions of our community, you can't worry about the evil when you got kids that kill kids and say we smoking on Tuka. See, they wasn't worried about the delivery when these kids in Chicago were talking about smoking on Tuka.
For those that don't know, Tuka was the name of the boy that he killed. So when they said we smoking on Tuka, they would put it in a song bragging about killing him. You know.
They wasn't worried about the delivery. I ain't got no manners for no slut. I'm gonna put my thumb in her butt. The delivery? I like girls
Very
kissing.
true.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about And this is something that came up with D1 too when he was talking. He was like, "Well, you could have said it in a nicer way."
In a nicer way.
It's like, do you
Do you hear what's in y'all
Yeah.
music?
Yeah. False gods.
Yeah.
You can't talk about them.
You can't. That's what I said. Sacred cows. That's what sacred cows are. You know.
Girls where I'm from.
So then he's gonna quote a Drake song.
And that's on the radio. Girls where I'm from. Put my thumb in her butt. The delivery? I like girls kissing girls where I'm from. And that's on the radio. Girls on girls. That's promoting lesbianism to my daughter as we driving to school. This song they playing with Drake. Y'all worried about the delivery? These niggas talking about killing each other. They really, that nigga Thug said, nigga, I shot at your mama. You don't mention me no more. He really shot that nigga mama. And y'all worried about my delivery? These niggas are confessing to murders on songs. And y'all worried about my delivery? The conditions of black sucking them talking about booty hole.
Cam's face.
Y'all worried about my delivery?
Sexy red.
Come on, don't be hypocrites, black people. Y'all can't listen to this music if y'all so caught up in my delivery. Don't do me like that.
That's
And the
true.
way y'all snap and pop y'all pussy to this music, the way y'all kill and drill to this music, don't trip about my delivery. Hey, yo, Easy, why you wear your pants like that? I wear my pants like that because that's easy access, baby. Easy, why you talk like that? I talk like that to get my point across. Because when I wasn't talking
He makes a great point right here too.
like that, wearing a bow tie, y'all wasn't paying me no attention, and I was going to the Supreme Court changing laws and legislations in this country. I was working with over 50 U.S. congressional members, from Ted Cruz to Mark Rubio, Senator John Cornyn. I was on the front page of the American Bar Association Journal. I had done a study with News 21, Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Y'all wasn't paying attention then. So, nigga, I gave y'all what y'all want. A ignorant motherfucking nigga that talk like them rappers. Now y'all listening.
I thought that when he said that in an interview, I was like, man, that is so true, bro. Like, something about the culture will dismiss an educated, someone who's really in there trying to make changes.
Who did they do that to? A guy that just ran for president, Ben Carson.
Ben Carson, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they were making fun of him.
Yep.
Like, this dude is a brain surgeon?
brain surgeon.
Yeah.
But from the hood.
But he's a clown, though. He's a clown.
He's a corny.
But
He's corny.
He's
not one of us.
Yeah, he's not one of them.
yeah.
So
But
he's
he's doing things for the community.
But isn't
But
that
they idolize.
that's the shame of it all. That's the point that he's trying to make here is like, y'all only want to claim people, you know, who quote unquote act like niggas. You know what I mean? Like, y'all don't want to someone who comes in the right way professionally trying to show y'all an example of something you don't pay attention to.
No, they don't.
You dismiss it, even though he was actually doing major things to help the youth, advocating for laws to be changed, things to happen in his community. None of that mattered.
No.
But now that he's on the internet talking shit, everyone is paying attention.
yeah.
You know,
And he's pointing out something, you know, which is this. We, as a black community, the minority-based community, we are our celebrities and celebrity culture and celebrity worship, whether it's athletes or sports or entertainers, they have a pass to almost do anything, even if it's at the detriment and destruction of his own people. We're going to sacrifice people because this stuff is bumping. Or we like them. We've deemed them untouchable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what he's doing is he's basically saying, because I know a lot of people would say, well, don't talk about them. They're they're artists. So that's art.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, so what I'm saying is not art, it's divisive, but what they're saying,
I'm art too.
I'm doing the same
the
thing.
same thing they're doing.
So that's what he's, you know.
yeah.
Well, what do we? Yeah, when you talk about, you can't talk about racism when we're killing our own people.
Yeah, it's a fact.
It's hypocritical, right? You can't talk about racism when most people who get killed
By black people.
it's black on black crime.
Right.
It doesn't, like, the fact that it was such a Black Lives Matters thing, is crazy to me when you're screaming Black Lives Matters, but then you're rapping songs about I just killed this dude over.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's literally hypocrisy.
A couple of them got arrested, actually,
Yeah.
from their albums.
Telling on themselves on records. Yeah. Implicating themselves in crimes. They get investigated.
Even if they're not really doing it.
Yeah.
They're still talking about
You're
it
still
and they're still
promoting it.
glorifying
They
it.
promoted it, yeah.
This is again the D1.
And I think that's what he's doing with Cam. Is Cam wants to talk about his polarization.
Yeah.
And he wants to talk to Cam about I'm doing exactly the same thing.
How come you don't talk about them?
Right.
How come you don't say this about what they're doing? How come you want to say that my delivery is off? You know,
I've heard that plenty of times. It's
Yeah.
delivery.
but they can get away with saying whatever they want. You know, yeah.
And I think even like in turn, like I heard this from Cam on here. I heard this from what's the other dude? Other football player, Ocho
Cinco.
Cinco.
I was
Like,
just
yeah.
thinking that too about
Yeah.
the Keith Lee thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like we're not allowed to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If you don't hold yourself accountable, you will be destroyed.
Yeah.
How's it going to get better?
It's not.
How's the the service in
It's
the
not. No, you know what? I just heard. Tag. I was gonna take this. I just heard this thing from a Democratic dude in the Democratic Party, and I forgot to save it for here. But he was saying we got to stop talking about. We got to stop putting buts in our statements. Like he said, like Biden is a good president, but there should be no but. Biden is a great president, and that should be the end of it.
Yeah.
It's like we gotta. The Democratic Party is strong, and that should be the end of it. Like and he was saying all these things, and it's like because we're giving the other side a reason. We're giving, and that was one of the dumbest things.
I was just thinking
I was like,
you're not giving them anything. They have to include the but because they know that everyone will say you're lying. Like
Yeah.
you're just lying.
Yeah,
He read the book The Secret and came up.
We got to manifest.
we got a man.
We gotta manifest.
That's literally. But
We
but to
gotta-
me, that's what like black people are doing
Yeah.
in terms of Ocho Cinco.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to point out that these things we need to get together. We need
Yeah.
to fix. We need to work on.
Right.
What are the issues? How can we work on them? What can we do?
Yeah.
You gotta deal. You gotta see what's going on. You know, so that you can fix it.
Yeah.
Right. You can't talk about poison if you don't talk about the poison manufacturers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And I think a lot of men and women, they grew up with it and they want to let it go. So someone like him, see, Charleston can say it because he's black.
Right.
Nobody else could say it.
And he's from the
hood.
Like he's a real
went to
black.
prison.
He went to prison.
He's living the life a lot of rappers fake and
Yeah.
pretend to be.
Right.
T.I.'s son.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Michael Irving's son.
I saw that go.
Have you seen Michael Irving talk about his son?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lived in a gated community.
Yep.
He even went on TV and said, "Hey, I have a son."
Yeah.
You could tell he's frustrated with him.
Yep.
And he said, "I have a son called Tuck Tarantino, and you see him.
Yeah.
He's dreaded up. He's got the tattoos. He has the outfit." And he said, "Son," he's pleading with him. "You grew up in a gated community. You're talking
Yeah.
about my life." But that's what it is.
But that's the T.I. thing.
The T.I. thing.
At the game, T.I.'s son is arguing with them because they're telling him that he grew up in a nice neighborhood and he wants to prove to the internet that it wasn't a nice neighborhood and that he grew up in the hood. Like, there's just this. I mean, Charleston talks about that in this interview about how he grew up in a nice neighborhood. His mom made good money, but he needed to be connected to
street.
the poor. He said, "I used to hang in the hood with the poor people because that was the only way for me to prove that I was real."
yeah. Why is that real?
That's
though?
a sickness, man.
The same thing for the kid.
It's a sickness.
The amazing player. I can't.
Basketball player?
The
Ja
Memphis-
Morant.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ja
Ja
Morant.
Morant, same
he
thing.
is good as heck, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
super
I've
talented.
seen some games where he played, but this dude, is hanging around guys that have guns and he gets caught.
Sad to say, he does have his dad in his life, but his dad's hanging with him.
Yeah.
His dad's in there.
But again,
Wow.
like if your dad is absent,
Yeah.
If he's not around, and that's what's happening with a lot of these. Like, you're playing the role, like, of you're a good dad, but if you're not around and you're not challenging your sons, if you're not challenging them, if you're not, guardian. Think about what a guardian is. A guardian. We say these things and we don't even realize, like, oh, you need your guardian to do this. You need your guardian to do that, right? But what does a guardian do? A guardian is supposed to guard you from what not to do, to guard you from staying in
outside influences,
and staying in the parameters in which you can thrive, in which you can be raised up, right?
Right.
That's what a guardian is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we're talking about we were talking about the word, right? We're talking about the Holy Spirit. We're talking about how we see things. Isn't it interesting? The whole thing with the church started with Peter. And what did Jesus? Who do you say I am?
Yeah.
Jesus said, "You're the Christ.
Yeah.
You're the Son of God." Right? He said, "You only heard this by the Father. You didn't hear this by flesh and blood." So he heard it by the Spirit, right? It came from the Father. He says, "On this rock I build my church." See, that's the beginning of it. This is the foundation, right?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everything has to be seen. He didn't see that. He didn't hear that. Just out of nowhere. He heard it in the Spirit, right? And he said, that's what's gonna, and the gates of hell won't prevail against it, right? And then after that, he says, I give you the keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bound on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose will be loose in heaven.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that now I'm giving you parameters. It's your choice. If whatever you bind, which means whatever you condemn or you don't want to permit, right? You want to keep out, it's on you.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to release, whatever you want to let in, that's on you too. This is what the church is supposed to do, right? We're supposed to be keeping things out that need to be kept out and allowing the right things in. And in heaven, when it says as it is in heaven, that's just about whatever you do on earth, God's gonna allow it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in terms of family, it's the same thing. We got men have to step up. How do you got to build a house? The father is the one who really builds the house. The house isn't built because you bought a house. The house is built because you knew the design, right? You took preparations and for provisions for the materials. But I'm talking about mental.
Right.
I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about how do you build a household? How do you build a family, a household where people can thrive? That's what Jesus came for. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. When you're in peace, that's what it's about. Isn't it interesting that men, in terms of women, what do they value the most? Purity. Men, in terms of women that they want to marry, the most valuable thing is their purity, right? It's their what is purity? It's their cleanliness, right? Or their innocence, right? What does that mean? That means that they're not tainted by the world. What does that mean? That means they haven't been through so much that they're afraid of this, and this, that they're going to go this way, because they already got preconceived notions about how things are going to go. But they'll submit themselves, right? Because they grew up in peace.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They grew up in a place that kept them secure. What do women value the most in a man?
Security.
What I just said.
Yeah.
Yep. Security or freedom.
Right.
It's the same thing, right? So you see just that dynamic between a man and a woman and how that creates a space or an environment that things can really thrive. And I think that's what we're getting to like the point of it all, right?
Right.
Is we're talking about how can we thrive,
Right.
but it's not happening because it's about what I said. It's about what I'm looking at in myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me trying to prove myself to these niggas over here,
Mm-hmm.
this person over here. It's about me trying to prove myself
To the culture.
to the culture, to these women,
Yeah.
to that I'm a man, that I'm
Right.
a. So I miss everything, and I can't be anything because I'm always trying to raise myself up.
Right.
And a boy can't raise himself.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing. We talked about that with the whole Jim Jones and Rick Ross thing, that they're behaving like boys still, you know. And we see that. How many old men? I was just watching the Ali Sadiq special that he released. He's a comedian. And the one he released talking about loss, he goes into like his background and his family, because he did time too. Same type of situation, grew up with his mom, but grew up in a, you know, nice family, but wanted to live the street life. His dad, his uncles, everybody was in the hood, you know, was in the streets. His dad was always had women in and out the house, you know. And he talked about how his dad was never a good influence because he was the one getting him in trouble all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and I think this idea of like the culture not raising men to be men, like grown men still want to be boys. You know, I think Charleston talked about that in this interview too at a certain point where he was like, why does Jay-Z talking about 40 is the new 30? You know, I think there was a point in the interview he talked about that. Like he said, why do we advocate for that? Why do we want to why don't we embrace getting old? Why does everybody want to remain young? Men want to still be boys. And you see that a lot in the culture where it's like you still want to dress young. You still want to be accepted by the young culture. You still want to feel like you're living out your young years. And you're seeing that a lot with women now too in their 30s and 40s where they want to relive their youth.
Because nobody values wisdom.
What I was gonna say, from a just in a male female dynamic too. Part of that, the reason men do this is because they're being rewarded sexually too. I think what happens is this, you know, whatever is allowed to reproduce itself, that's what you're going to get more of, right? So if women continue to choose these these kind of guy who are basically their adult children, and they continue to look at these men and they don't say, because women are truly the gatekeepers of the type of men they select, right? I know a lot of them don't know themselves,
Right.
But think about the type of dudes that are in the community getting all these women, and these young boys at that age, they see that they become fantasy. It's a fantasy for them, and so I think a lot of these younger guys, the ones that want to be good, are sort of, they realize, oh, this guy with the tattoos and the cars and this, he gets it. And because he doesn't have a male mentor to explain why that girl is choosing that guy, he thinks he needs to copy that. So your good character, good nature, good manners, he realized he has to hide that. There's a lot of pretenders here too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boys pretending to be hard, you know?
Well, he says he was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretend
He
to
said
be
that.
hard.
He said I was pretending.
Right?
I was acting. Yeah.
So what we have now is we have women that are now in their 30s, 40s, sometimes in their 50s,
Yeah.
asking where's the good men at. But they spent 25, almost 30 years picking all the wrong guys.
Right.
And they're looking, just because you started going to church and stuff like that, now you're looking for somebody to come. And a lot of the good men are like, I don't want this. They're already married off, or they don't want that. That's a project. So a lot of times these younger guys see that and they'll conform to it because they don't have a strong man in the house to help them realize, hold on.
Right.
I remember my dad explaining to me why you should wear a belt and why you should do this.
Tuck
And,
your shirt in and all that. Yeah.
right.
But again, it goes back to lack of fathers, lack of leadership. Because even those girls making all those bad choices, if they have a strong leader in their family, is there's way better chance that she's not going to fall into those traps by those
Absolutely.
young boys who are just opportunists.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and when he was telling his story about pretending and about how the culture influenced him to want to, even though he grew up in it, he talked about all the stuff he grew up with, all the video games and all that. He had everything. He talked about the Nintendo with the what was the pad called? He had the pad, he had the glove, he had everything. He broke down the whole, and he was saying that like, but the culture made him want to hang out, and the music and everything. And I thought about the kids that grew up with us, and how a lot of them went down that same path, even though they didn't have to.
They're not from the hood.
Not at all. They grew up in rich houses, with both parents, privileged, got cars when they turned 17.
Right.
You know
but
what I mean?
they want to. There's a stronghold of inner city culture that blanketed, because this affected white kids too.
Yeah.
One thing that was interesting, and I told you this, Jamie. One thing that was interesting, right? Because we blame the '90s and hip hop for everything. I like blaxploitation movies.
Yeah.
And all of that pimps up, hose down, sucker, and where's my money at, and all that. That came from the '70s.
Yeah.
All these rappers that were doing these skits in these albums, you guys remember these? There was albums with skits on them.
Yeah.
And it was all of that Dolomite, Superfly stuff,
Right.
that they grew up watching as kids, and they watched their uncles doing it. Maybe they weren't rapping,
Right.
but it was a form of bravado and showing off.
Well, the pimps actually invented rapping because they used to talk in poems. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's where that really came from.
Right. But I'm saying that, hip hop gets blamed for all of it.
Yeah.
They have a chunk of it, but it really started in the 70s. It
Yeah.
really started with the rewriting of the blaxploitation, and that a lot of people read, because those were the movies being shown in the hood. Just like for right now, we see it with the reality shows. The love and hip hop is geared towards black females.
Well, what happened in the the 70s are a product of the 60s. What happened in the 60s?
Was it right? You had the you had Lyndon
sexual
Johnson,
revolution.
sexual revolution. You had the hippie movement, then you had Lyndon Johnson with the what's the thing he passed that created the welfare state.
I can't
Remember. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But all of that set up the 1970s, and it set up, and then you had the Vietnam War, which sent home a lot of black men.
Right. We didn't know about PTSD.
We didn't know about it.
They got introduced to cocaine,
a lot of them
opioids.
came back hooked on drugs, on opioids, and it just created a whole nother environment in the cities.
More than anything, it destroyed a lot of men.
Yeah, a lot of men.
And we didn't know.
Right.
As a society, we didn't know. Well,
Right.
maybe some people knew, but
Yeah. I mean, I look at like our dad. He came from a religious family.
Yep.
Right. My grandfather was a Baptist reverend. And, he grew up in that. So there was a lot of like, for him, just hearing what he went through, there was a lot of structure, but it was almost like, what's the point of this?
Right.
Some of it was for show.
Right.
Right. It wasn't
Because
like,
you're a preacher's kid, you have to
be this
be a
thing,
certain way,
right?
present a certain way.
Yeah.
You can't put shame on the family. Yeah.
it still happens today.
Yeah, absolutely.
right. So he rebelled against that, right? Became a musician and started living for himself
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way, right?
And got influenced by the culture, drug
Right.
culture, and the music culture in the 70s was very heavily influenced by weed and drugs and cocaine and all of that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, and then he got married to mom, and he wasn't a good father.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good husband. He didn't know how to be a good husband.
Yeah.
He had, and he would always talk. He would go back to the stuff he learned. Like he would go back to the Bible, but he didn't live it.
Right.
He didn't. Like there was hypocrisy there, right? And don't get me wrong, Dad did some good stuff. But what I noticed, like growing up, he was in our lives, but it wasn't enough. He was in our lives, but he wasn't living with us.
Right.
So he would ask us, like, "Are you doing this? Are you doing that? How you doing in school? Good." But I can say that because he's not checking up on my grades.
Right.
He's not holding me accountable to
Right.
anything. He's just going to ask me, but why isn't he holding me accountable? Because he doesn't really care. And I'm not saying he doesn't care in his own mind. I'm saying he doesn't truly care. Because if he truly cared, he would be dedicating himself. He would be training us up,
There you
right?
go. That's it.
Right.
Training.
He cared about certain things.
Cared about certain things.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Again, you're gonna miss a lot. It has to be the man's household.
Yeah.
It has to be the man's household. Why? Because he's the one that shuts the door to things that need to be shut to and opens the door to the things that need to be opened to.
And here's what you just said, right? Once kids realize that I could tell you anything and you're not going to follow up,
Oh yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. And that's what I literally realized
Yeah.
for myself. You probably did
Yeah,
too.
of course.
Like, you knew he wasn't going to check anything.
Yeah.
He wasn't. So I'm good. All I got to do is keep mom at bay.
Yeah.
And, you know, that wasn't as hard. Mom would be more like, she would lash out more. But we knew once she lashed out, she would.
Yeah.
That would be it. Like it's a storm, and then it's
Right. It's gone. you
see, they
wait.
call
no,
you a drizzle.
no offense to you, mom. but-
Drizzle.
You
It's a
wade
heavy
through.
drizzle.
You wade through some smacks and some yelling,
Yeah.
and then you know she'll punish us for a month, and then we'll be mad, and we sit through that.
Yeah.
You guys are Ace Ventura when he has to fight the little Tommy Davidson. This is it.
Yeah.
I have to fight him.
I remember one time I told you to shut up, mom. Remember that? Yo, she went off
crazy.
on me.
She went
She
crazy.
started. and the funny thing was, like, I had to stop myself from laughing.
Yeah.
You know, but I felt bad.
Yeah.
But I had to stop myself from laughing
Yeah.
because it was just funny when she did it.
Yeah.
Right? You know it was funny, mom.
Wasn't funny.
No, but my disrespect wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But the thing was, like, again, you need that accountability.
Yeah.
You know, especially as a teen. I was a teenager at that
Yeah.
point. You need that accountability.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things that I sometimes am disheartened with the body of Christ is we don't talk about the joy of marriage. We don't talk about the joy of fatherhood.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the joy of motherhood. We don't talk about the joy of family.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the joy of sex in marriage. We don't talk about we just list those things as things that needs to be done. But we don't talk about the joy of that. Right? We don't talk about we really don't
The benefits, the
the
reasons.
benefits of that. You
Right.
know, like we really don't go in to show people, because what do the street culture do? They're throwing up money,
Yeah.
cars. We know that that's a facade,
Right.
right? We
But
know
to a young mind,
to a young mind, it's impressionable.
Yeah, I want that.
Remember what? I think it was like 2-3 years ago. A person, rapper, Lil Bow Wow, posted a video.
Yeah.
Well, he not a video,
picture.
a picture.
Yeah.
Of a Mercedes Benz, a private jet, and he said doing big things out here, making whatever his proclamation was. He was showing.
he was
off.
flexing. Yeah.
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 But somebody posted a picture of him and said, "Man, this Negro is right here
Yeah.
Playing with
in the plane with us."
Yeah.
Because he just I guess that person followed him.
Yeah.
And it unveiled certain things. And then many rappers have been exposed for renting fake money, renting Ferraris.
Yeah.
And I think they got away with that for a long time because there was no way to fact check that.
Yeah.
So Lifestyle is Rich and Famous, MTV Cribs set
Yeah.
people up to this wonderland
Yeah.
of what, once I hit it big, I'll have access to all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what we didn't do as the body of Christ was to counteract that. We joined in right with them, with the pastors
The pastor
and the
has-
Rolls
yeah.
Royce. We joined. We were a version of them.
Right.
Not all of us, but a lot of people did that. So your blessing and your first fruit and all this stuff. So we started sounding like them, and we never stopped to be like, we need to push and advocate the joy of family life, right? The joy of that. So the joy of family life becomes a version of nepotism. My son is a preacher. My daughter's an usher. My grandson, my this. So we get to see that, but we don't see the joy of family life.
But doesn't that correlate to the joy of the Lord and our family in the Lord? Like if you don't have that first, you're gonna miss the family life because everything you're saying is connected to a false image, right? It's all connected to the outward appearance of things, right? The outward appearance. It's always about the outward appearance, especially when you don't have strong men,
Yeah.
right? But when you have men, because Because here's the key: if we as men love God first, right? That's how we're strong. We're not strong because we're just strong. We're strong because He makes us strong, right? And in that, I'm strong because He's strong. I am able to settle myself in God. He makes me strong. I'm settled in His strength, is what I should say. And what's the joy of the Lord is our strength. See what I mean? So now, because I'm settled in His strength, that spills over to my family. I love husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Now I can love my wife.
Yeah.
Now I can love my kids in a way where you see the joy start spilling over. But
I'm going through that phase right now with my son and my daughter. My daughter is 5. My son is almost 2, and they're learning, and they're asking questions. Sophia is telling me certain things, and I'm telling you, as a father, I see what you guys went. You know what I'm saying? Like Stan has some kids under his new daughter, but was the last one, so to speak, right? But the joy of fatherhood, right, where you get to be there. Like you said, your dad loved you, but he wasn't there. And kids need that.
Yeah.
A child needs both parent, and there's different levels of parenting from the mother and the father. I remember having this conversation with Shaniqua. We should have one goal in mind, but the way we are built and the way we parent might be different. But it's not necessarily. But as long as you and I can come together and realize that this is the direction.
Yeah.
But it might be a little different here and there in terms of delivery and certain things. But it has to be there because we're different. But there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? So I think because we are now in the society where kids respond visually. We did it too, but now it's overstimulation. Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we don't do what we need to do as fathers, because the difference between your generation, our generation, and their generation is this: your dad could tell you, "Hey, I'm busy this weekend," and that's the end of that. But now that kid can go on and see dad's in LA popping champagne.
Right.
He's supposed to be here.
Right.
And
That is so true.
so while your dad could have said, "Son, sorry, something came up. I'm really, really busy," you forgot about that.
Yeah.
But the kids today can go and see you was hanging with the this is what you were doing. And all respect is lost even further.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just had to come up with an excuse to say, "Yeah, I did that. Sure, whatever."
yeah,
Now that kid wants to confront the father because
Yep.
there's inadequacies, but not inadequacies. There's lies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
yeah. And you see this in a lot. Like I see this in the urban community because it's not just black.
Yeah.
I have Puerto Ricans. I have black. You see this a lot where people think they're good parents. People think they're good fathers. And because they give their kids stuff, they're a good parent. Because they're around their kids, they're a good parent. Because they buy their kids stuff, the things that they need, they're a good parent. And you're not even scratching the surface of what it means to be, and I'll say a father, they're a good father. You're not even scratching the surface, And even like with us, like I don't believe I'm a good parent. Like I can't. If I say that, then I settled it.
Yeah.
And I can't settle it because I know I have to always grow, right? Because I know there's always going to be things that come up that I don't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest with myself, I can either be mad about it and then my kids are going to get the wrath of it, or I can humble myself and give it to the Lord, and He can teach me in a way where I haven't learned before, right?
Bingo. I'm going through something right now with my 13-year-old son. It's challenging being especially because y'all know my story is, I have a divorce.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the first year where he decided that he wanted to go to school with his mom, like in that township, and I moved in a different township. Now, the challenge is trying to father
Him
him
While you're
with
not-
a mother who I don't,
Yeah,
not going to trash her, like, but is not as stern or fatherly as.
Well, she can't be fatherly.
She can't be fatherly because the father's not in the house, but
Right.
like she's really lenient on him.
Yeah.
You know, and he's dealing with school stuff. Now I'm like, you know, like, yo, come on. We got to be on the same page with if he's not doing his homework, take his stuff away. You know? So it's like it's tough.
This stuff,
It's tough being a father and being a parent.
Yeah.
But you gotta, you know, you gotta lean on God and, you know, pray and, you know, try to do, you know, what's best
Yeah. Dude,
from afar. Like, you know, like you talked about your father. You know, he I can tell he loved you guys,
Yeah.
but it's tough fathering when you're not, you know, together.
Yeah.
And you have kids together. That's a whole different animal, you know.
I want to give a shout out to Emma. He said, "What's up, everybody?" And then Lynette Jackson said, "Hello, everyone."
Hello.
Hey.
And you see that?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
What is that?
I'm ignoring that.
Can somebody flag it?
Yeah. Someone just erased that. I don't know what that is. Let's keep watching this because we didn't even get to. We talking a lot.
This is what, yeah.
But that's why I wanted y'all to watch this because there was so much in it.
Man, it's so important. Like,
Yeah.
this is so important.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how important it is for men to step up.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say something about that before you played.
Go ahead.
I was going to say this. With all of us talking and specifically addressing the black community, because we've mentioned that a couple of times, I will say this. What I am extremely pleased and happy about is this. There are a lot more black men that are willing to talk, even though it's under the podcast setting. These conversations are being had because I just saw the pivot. Ryan Clark, Channing, and Freddie T brought on D1, and it was very powerful.
Wow. I gotta watch that.
And you got to watch it because
Yeah.
it's not as contentious as this, but they give him the platform to explain why he looks at it the way he does, and he goes into it. So if you guys want to watch that one, but I'm so proud of that fact because for a lot of times is this, especially with black men, minority males, it's the obsession with sports, women's, cars, material thing.
Hip
And
hop.
So, yep. So these conversations are happening.
Yeah.
Because just to go back on the last when we talked about the D1 versus Rick Ross and Jim Jones, not a lot of people agree with them.
No, exactly.
So it shows that people are recognizing that the culture has become trash.
Yeah.
Right?
And these type of conversations, like you're talking about, these podcasts are what we're doing. This thing with Charleston White. This is how culture changes.
And we have to give, even in a weird way, we have to give Cam credit that he's willing.
Right.
'Cause he could just delete
even
this.
though, even if no,
He was trying to.
he
No,
knew
he was
this
trying
was
to-
going to be a money maker for him
He did.
because it had like 2 million views when I
Yeah.
watched it.
But I still look at it as, even though he put it out for his own intention, it's going to open up some eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And I agree with that. So it doesn't even matter what his
Doesn't matter what his
intentions were.
intentions is.
Because
He's
it's
giving it a
about-
platform.
Right. It's
Yeah.
about how God uses it.
And we got to get past what things look like to us. Like,
Right.
you know, and I think that's what he was kind of saying at the beginning. Like, you know, we're so concerned about what we're going to look like and how we'll be exposed. It's like either we expose ourselves or
Yep.
we will be exposed.
Right.
You know, either we can confront the things that we need to bring to the light or we keep running from the light.
Right. And I honestly think, like, because when you watch a lot of Charleston White's interviews and like his little things, I've seen a lot of them, and I think that's his tactic, where it's like, I'm gonna say the most outlandish, because you're questioning me to try to pin me in a corner, so I'm gonna go the other way and say the most crazy thing, so that you move off of it, because it's like there's nowhere for you to go now.
And he shows that even though you think you're in control, I'm going to trigger you.
Yeah.
And I'll make you run around me trying to get me to say, you trying to get me to say something you want to hear.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Let's keep going with this.
Now y'all paying attention, huh? I got y'all attention. Checkmate.
Now let me tell y'all what y'all need to hear. We fucked up as a race of people since y'all so caught up into my delivery. 5% of children now are catching HIV from ages 13 to 21. What y'all worried about? 85% of the new chlamydia, all the new cases are teenagers. What y'all so caught up about? Nigga, only 35% of most kids in inner cities can read on or above their grade level. What the fuck are y'all talking about and these kids can't read? Come on, my nigga. So if we gonna be real, let's be real. I'm not bashing the black woman in her BBLs. I'm not bashing the black woman because she wearing eyelashes. I'm not fucking with the sister because she got too many baby daddies. I'm addressing men. Boys and men, from Deion Sanders and his son to black people following a cult-like man, but won't support local. How can black people give all this energy to one man and all these other black coaches from high school to college? Why is it just this one man? And we abandon hashtag HBCUs, just like we abandon no justice, no peace for George Floyd. Are we still mad about George Floyd? Are we still mad about police shooting? Is that why we not kneeling no more? Are we still boycotting the NFL? What happened to all these things? What happened? Nigga, because I'm still stuck on Tamir Rice while y'all stuck on my delivery. I'm still mad why ain't now motherfucker tore up the country behind Tamir Rice. Baby Tamir Rice at that. Since we, come on my nigga, I'm starting to resent black people.
Don't do that.
Nigga, next year I'm gonna be hollering fuck black people. Cause they the most hypocritical, fakest motherfucking people in the world. Cause if any motherfucker mad about what I'm saying and can like Lil Durk, can listen to King, nigga Nipsey Hussle say, I'm gonna turn all these bitches into lesbian. I started not liking that nigga when I heard him say that. Nigga, you'll turn all the hoes into lesbian? He said, I'm gonna turn all these bitches into lesbian. Nigga, not my black queens. Maybe you ain't got no black mama. I got a black mama, nigga. But the thing about this is, you don't hear nobody say I've done wrong to nobody. It's always, well, he said this. See, I thought it was actions speak louder than words. So what I realized is most people are hypocritical. They stuck on words. That's why they ignore most people's actions like celebrities. That's why they ignore R. Kelly actions for so long when he was child molesting. That's why they ignored Jay-Z's action when Foxy Brown came out and said he was putting that horse dick in her in the Source magazine. Remember that interview? You might be too young. Foxy Brown came out and said Jay-Z was fucking her when she was 16. So if we just go, come on now. So that's why action don't speak louder than words to black people.
They still put these people on pedestals. They still talk about.
You can't talk about Jay-Z.
Yeah, and they still talk about R. Kelly. Like he's the
greatest.
We were talking about Tank. Right?
Yeah,
Tank talking about R. Kelly, like because it's the mentality. They
celebrity worship,
and it's talent. It's I'm trying to think of the right words. It's the things that people focus on, the things that we do that seem like the image that you want to worship, right? They focus on, oh, well, they did this. You can't deny the songs he wrote. Do you listen to the songs he wrote?
Right.
But you can't deny the songs he wrote. Do you listen to the songs he wrote?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
But when you're caught up in, you love what he does already. So that's why you've identified and attached your heart to the things that he's done. It's the same thing with Jay-Z. You love his music so much that if someone comes out and criticizes him, you feel the need to defend him because somehow him being criticized is you being criticized because you love him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Somebody you don't even know.
When we were doing music, right?
No, we still do music.
I'm talking about back in the day when we were doing R&B music is what I should have said.
Yes,
straight up R&B,
right?
And we're on tours, right?
Yeah.
And we knew that if we could do certain things, that they would go crazy. So we did certain things, and I'm not talking about like we never did like sexual stuff.
We never took our shirts off on stage.
I'm talking about like hit certain notes and sing things a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. So then like I became turned off by that totally because it's like I just realized like, oh wow, we're just manipulating the people because they're just enamored by what we're doing. They don't even get what we're singing about. You know, like I remember I was at I was at a meeting in the church I was going to, and we had just put out Go Slow, right? And Go Slow was right at the beginning where we were like transitioning our music, and also we were speaking about God more in our music, right? And Go Slow was literally about like
abstaining.
That's
from
what
it's
sex.
about.
Yeah,
that's what it's
it
about.
was about
the mistakes we made
recognizing-
in the past,
Right.
of rushing.
and doing what we shouldn't have been doing,
Right.
But because of the way we sang it,
And the feel of the song.
the feel of the song,
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
people
And Go Slow. Can,
Yeah.
people missed the message.
Right.
So like I'm in church, and I remember the elder at this church we were at, she's like, yeah, I can't listen to that song. It does something to me. It takes me back to my old days. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what? Like, did you listen to the song?
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, it's, again, like I said, it's about the way, right? You're doing something.
Right.
So, you know, you're singing falsetto
the
you're
whole
singing
time.
high notes,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
And so that does something because it's familiar in that way.
Right.
But people can't separate the two, you know, because they're used to something in a certain way.
Right.
And that used to frustrate me so much that, like, I'm like, all right, well, I don't even want to do anything R&B anymore.
Yeah.
But so all right, God, what can we do? What kind of music? You know, so
Yeah.
we started doing other music.
Yeah.
But so I'm just going through my head, like, for me, it was about, like, I recognized how people were so focused on something and how they were so manipulated by something.
Right.
What if we do this over here? They're not gonna like it. But then we had people who did. We had people who still rocked with us, right? We had people who still listened to us.
Shout out to Courtney.
Yeah. We had people who were still, because they loved us, they were like, okay, well, let me see what you're doing.
Right.
Might not be like, and then, I've been listening to that. I really like that song. Like, that's what it's about, right? So I think the deeper thing is we have to get past these superficial relationships with people.
Yeah.
Because that's when we become fickle. We're so worried about the way it's done that how many gay singers are in churches freaky deaky allowed to sing in worship,
Well, leading times.
worship,
Yeah.
because they have the sound or they have the talent.
Yeah.
You're not holding them accountable for nothing whatsoever.
Well, people confuse talent with anointing a lot of times.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time.
I think sometimes too, from what you guys are talking, I think people can be in love with a concept and an idea. So you're in love with entertainment and not information.
Right.
You're in love with the idea of marriage and not the work that it takes to keep the marriage. You know, you're in love with having children, but you're not in love with the idea, or you haven't worked up to the loving of what the work
responsibility.
is going to take. Responsibility.
Yeah.
So the concept of things has been presented to us, and we're like, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think, just to keep on what you're saying right there, I think that was a big thing for us musically because we were in love with the idea of being on stage and singing and people loving what you're doing. We were in love with the
and it's a form of worship too.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were in love with the idea of what being a star was. But as that started to build and grow, then the responsibility hit us like a ton of bricks where it was like, wait a minute.
Sure.
Look what we're doing.
We're going to be held accountable for all this stuff.
And look what we're creating. Look what we're adding to in community.
One of the things we don't realize too is that's a part of the human nature is to look at things and lust after them, right? But what we don't realize is that there are people who capitalize on us doing that. So there are labels who will sign you and have you wait 10 years on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to come out and do something else. They want you rather you be here.
Right.
You know, there are people who are like, oh, you want to be a model? You're not tall enough. You're not good looking enough. But come sign here. Come take headshots and waste your weekend.
Yeah.
Your kid wants to play soccer. We know they stink, but come on, pay your money.
Right. Sign up with this trainer who's gonna get them in the
we'll
MLS.
do that.
Yeah.
We you see Jim doing $10 down. Why do you think they do? They know you ain't coming. But if we get 180 people, 300 people to come put $10 down.
Planet Fitness used to do Donut Mondays and Pizza Wednesdays.
Right. Because they know you're in love with the idea.
Bagel Friday.
Yeah.
You're in love with the idea of losing weight.
Yeah.
The concept. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
They know.
They know.
So I think it's the thing is a lot of people don't do enough self-reflection to realize that we are in love with entertainment and not information.
Yeah.
This is why politically they've ruled us for so long. This is why they can pull a wool over our eyes and tell us certain things because we're in love with entertainment.
Yeah. Or do we just are we just in love of knowledge, knowing, but never having any structure in knowing, knowing for the sake of knowing. Right? Did you know about this?
Always learning.
You know, always learning, never coming.
Yeah,
to the
and
knowledge
that's
of the
another
truth.
aspect of it. There are people who love being that person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, let me tell you about this.
Right. I think that's what it is. I
You
think
know that's not his real name.
I won't drop you on something.
Yeah.
Let me give some real game.
Yeah.
You know, it's why the radio show has the T.
Yep.
The T.
Wendy Williams.
I'm gonna tell you the
Wendy
T.
Williams became a thing.
Yeah, but look at her now.
Yeah.
I've heard, and y'all did it too with I won't say his name, but that story about the woman who's looking for the real man.
Yeah.
And she found a guy.
Yeah.
Everything is perfect, but he has a small male member.
Right.
I heard that on like
Every
so many
radio
black
show.
radio stations
Yeah.
because they know that that's what people are. They know that
It gets a reaction.
Plus, it gives women the idea that, see, the reason I do what I do is because I'll never find it. So I might as well go ahead and do what I do.
Right.
And it's the same thing for men. They'll give you the concepts that make you feel that these things they're unattainable. So if I
Yeah.
give you the story where even under a perfect scenario, this didn't add up, you might as well go ahead and do what you're going to do.
Right.
Because even under the perfect scenarios, that person still wasn't fulfilled. So go ahead and do what you want to do anyway.
Wow.
You know, and I've heard that in other cities. I've heard that same on the call-in love letter hour.
Right.
Why they do that? Because they need to rope you in. They need to entertain you, you know?
All right, let's keep going on this.
People. Because if you go to look into action, you look at Dion can't keep a marriage. He been divorced how many times? This is how many wives he done had? 3 or 4? So we are following a man who can't how many times? That's all I'm going to say.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
Giving
That's all I'm going to
relationship
say.
advice.
Known for sleeping with multiple women throughout his life.
With his
Women.
mistress.
Whoremongering man.
Women's.
Maybe that's why God took his toe. Turf toe motherfucker. So that's all I'm saying. So this is a man who done abused multiple women. Pilar has so much to say about it. Go get the divorce papers. Abusive. Come on now. I was paying attention because I lived in Dallas at the time, so it was big talk in Dallas. And we ain't gonna talk about when he was in Atlanta fronting the dope niggas down here when he was playing for the Atlanta Falcons. All that's documentation.
Speculations.
Okay, well, we'll say speculation, but there's no speculations on Charleston White. It's just what he says. It's just conversation. So when you look at Charleston White, you see he's a father, a husband, a community activist, a youth advocate. You ain't got nothing on me.
Ex-husband, coon.
You ain't got nothing on me.
Snitch.
You ain't got no paperwork.
Talk down
no
on black
paperwork.
people.
No paperwork. No paperwork. It ain't no paperwork on me. You got to have paperwork on the snitch. No paperwork. The cooning, nigga, we get in every black city I go to, nigga, I do way more for black people than any celebrity I know. To date.
You think you do more than the community?
To date.
Than me?
To date. Yeah, to date.
Than me?
Yeah, to date.
Because y'all ain't doing nothing but raising
No,
blood.
this is what I want to happen. This is what I want to happen. I want grown men
Here
to
we
get
go.
out their
Look what I
feelings
did.
and stop.
Yeah. But he
It's the
makes a good point here though.
This is what I want to happen. This is what I want to happen. I want grown men to get out their feelings and stop letting words of people that they don't know to affect them. Because don't you got a woman to lead? Don't you got children? So if you sitting around saying what I'm saying, don't you know the law give me the right to defend myself for free speech. You can't hurt me for my mouth.
So he's addressing the fact how emotional men get just because look at Jim Jones,
Rick Ross,
look at Rick
Jim
Ross,
Jones, yeah.
because a man said something. Look at that whole culture of like, you know,
Come
I got to
see me.
do something to you.
Pull up.
Yeah.
If you got something to say, I got to do something to you, even if I don't know you, or my people's gonna do something to you. You know, like we got to call that out.
Oh, definitely.
We got to call that behavior out, man.
Dara said he took his toes.
So be willing to die or go to jail, you tough motherfucker.
But so all you're doing is just saying this. You're agitating an argument because what you gonna say is, hey, man, fuck Cam Newton. What Cam gonna say? Man, fuck Charleston White. You ain't gonna do
I'm
that.
not in
Hold
my
on,
mind.
Hold on, listen.
In my mind, when I say fuck King Von dead, so he ain't saying fuck me back. When I say fuck King Von, I'm making a point because I'm sitting next to Tuka's mother. See, that's what y'all keep missing, my nigga. Hold on, listen on me. I'm telling you, I met this baby's mother. And this boy is saying, smoke this kid. Not only that, he done killed other people. So it's easy to say, fuck him, my nigga, when you done met these victims. That's all I'm saying. It's easy to say, fuck Deion Sanders, when you got these Jackson State football kids in your phone. See, that's what y'all missing. All of this is because I work with children. Fuck Nipsey, he a rolling 60 Crip, cuz. They kill black people. They mislead children. So it's easy to say, fuck that. But I ain't saying fuck black women. But y'all defending these.
But you just
When you're talking about
Yeah.
That's a good
So
point.
that's the end of it. Yeah, you'll defend all of that. But then,
And he says it to get a rise.
Yeah, he's clearly doing. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not with the way he does it, but I get why he does it.
he does it. I think he does it because he has to.
Because that's the way he has to do it. In that
He has
or
to
he
address,
feels like
address the culture the way the culture will react.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he
I
cares.
mean,
He clearly cares about. You know.
yeah, but I mean, again, I'm not with everything he does.
Yeah, of course.
But he's getting attention though.
they bring him on. They bring him on for that very reason.
because they know he's going to get
But
views.
it's like
But if that's why you're doing it,
no, like he's doing that, and it's working because he's given a platform.
I mean, all you gotta do is
Yeah.
go read the comments on Cam's page.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean,
it's doing something culturally. It's making people aware. He's right.
because the king, I think the king, he really came out
say he's
against
right.
Yeah, about
the culture.
the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the King Von thing and the Nipsey Hussle thing, but more King Von
yeah,
Yeah,
was where he because a lot of people like that him more. You know what I mean? The Deion Sanders thing, he's saying that more to upset Cam because Cam's a football player,
right.
and athletes are gonna,
yeah.
they're gonna want to ride with him because they look at him as really what they're proud of. Deion is he got $6 million from Colorado. That's
Right.
really what it is.
Right.
And all of these guys are kind of like they worship money and they love it. But he, from what I see here, he's trying to show them that everything I'm saying is exactly what the people you love say. But I'm saying it, you're telling me
Yeah.
my delivery is wrong.
Right.
But no one is talking about. I think that's what he's trying to do. I don't. Again,
Yeah, I would never
I
go
would do
around
that.
speaking like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
right.
And I don't think you have to be as vulgar as he is, but
But there's been some videos of guys running up on him and trying to assault him, and he's showing them. He's like, "Listen, that's how boys react. They don't want to sit down and have a dialogue with me.
right.
So he is addressing something that specifically with black males is the need to want to fight when somebody can be a wordsmith.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing because I've seen videos of people running up and hitting him and running away, and he's saying, "Yeah, they don't want to talk because they know they haven't been trained in this."
Yeah.
So they want to run up and hit, and he's trying to show the emotion. So I think he goes on these interviews and he knows that these people are trying to rouse him, because can guarantee you Cam planned and had a whole bunch of things, but he just wasn't going according to plan.
Yeah, and like he said, when I was going to Congress, meeting with senators and Congress and representatives with a bow tie and meeting with lawyers and having laws changing, no one wanted to listen to me. I was saying the same things then.
He addressed it at the end of the interview. He said, this man brought me on here, and 50 to 60% of the interview is about Deion Sanders. It ain't about nothing else.
And he said, we know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think sometimes, people will only listen to a voice that sounds familiar to them sometimes, and that's unfortunate.
And it's really addressing the culture. I mean, listen, we have an artist called Sexy Red right now, and it's the most vile lyrics. I don't know if you guys seen this, but I saw an Instagram post of a teacher, a black teacher, having little kids, couldn't be older than 6 years old. Talk about ski and recite. You saw that?
Yeah. Yep.
This is a black teacher that's having little kids. You don't think there's a problem?
And making a video with all of them.
I'm making a video, and there's multiple videos of this, and you're gonna tell me that we have a police brutality problem, and this is not an issue. Mm-hmm. We got some issues. Mm-hmm. We got problems. Agreed, man.
All right. Well, I had a bunch of other stuff, but we already...
You got to go back and change the title.
We already a bunch of hours in. I know I'm going to have to change the title. We ain't talk about none of that other stuff, man. But there was
I knew it was going to be a long one with
because there was a lot there.
Yeah.
There was a lot there, man. I wanted to show Elon Musk telling the advertisers to go F themselves. Did you guys see that video?
Was he Charleston White? He's the white Charleston White.
Elon Musk, man, he told them, he said, "You're not gonna hold me hostage with advertising money." You know what I mean?
Dana White, the same thing.
Go F yourselves.
That's Peloton, by the way.
Peloton, yeah.
Yeah. But then Elon goes, "Hey, Bob," we're talking to Bob Iger at Disney. Yeah, it's funny because you're seeing I'm seeing culture starting to shift in a lot of ways. I just saw a video today from Tim Pool showing that like Gen Z is polling to be the most conservative generation in the last like 40 years.
And you wouldn't know that with the push.
Yep.
That they try to
everything
put out
you
there.
see in your face with the teachers, with the all of the gender stuff and the all of the woke and progressiveness. You wouldn't think that.
Right. And listen, I love the UFC. I don't agree with everything Dana does or says, but I will say this. What the elite business world have learned is this. Guys like Dana White that hasn't gone to a specific type of college, no alma mater, they're not endeared by any university. They're not.
They're not in a
they're
fraternity.
Dangerous. They're not in a fraternity.
Yeah.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Because once they've built a brand and people jump onto that brand, the UFC is a brand.
Yeah.
And it's global.
Yep.
It's global. So once they've done that, because Vince McMahon is one of them too. Mm-hmm. He is one of Dana's mentors, and he said, "You need to speak up. If you're gonna run this thing, you got to speak up, and you got to sit. You got to do things a certain way, because once you jump on board with these corporate advertisers, they're gonna want you to bend to their will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Dana, what was it called? Is it third wall?
Fourth wall.
Fourth wall.
Yeah.
All right. When Dana goes on and mentions this stuff on these podcasts, I'm sure that his publicists and people they're probably screaming.
Yeah. Don't mention it. Don't talk about it.
And there's a difference between Dana and a corporate, who's the NBA head of the NBA?
I forget.
I don't know.
Silver or something.
Silver. Yeah.
Right, Adam Silver. Right.
Adam Silver.
Yeah. Those kind of guys are never gonna say that.
They couldn't even call out another country for what it was doing.
Yeah.
No. And I think that's what the youth today. I don't think it's so much because people will say, "Oh, the reason they love this shit is because it's violence and it's this." No, they recognize that someone like Dana, when a fight sucks, he says, "This fight sucks."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
When the guy want to talk about Jesus, he's like, he has 5 minutes. Let him talk about Jesus.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
You know, what would happen from the corporate, like the NBA, NFL was like, we have no room for this. We want to apologize to this community. Apologize. That's what would happen.
Yep.
You know, so
And it has happened.
and it has happened. So I think that a lot of younger people started seeing this and realize, wow, so you can push back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they try to strong Peloton. They try to strong arm him. He did it on his page.
Yeah, on his page.
His
yes.
personal page,
Right.
And he's open.
But I'm glad
opening
he calls
people's
it
eyes.
out. Yeah.
Opening people's eyes, like, yo, this happens. You know, we should be able to support whoever we want to support.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the same thing Elon Musk said.
Yeah. Go F yourself.
Go F yourself.
Yeah. Because it's like, you're not going to control me with money.
Yeah.
Again, I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with everything, but I think what's happening that I see, because like I said, whenever I see these kind of contentious, like verbal spats that people are having, I go to the comments.
Yeah.
I go, and if it's disabled, that tells me everything I need to know. But when I looked at the D1 thing, when I looked at the Dana interview, I go to the comments to see what people are saying. When Malik Yoba went on the Breakfast Club and talk about if you say you're a woman, then you're a woman, and he has sex with transsexual.
Yeah.
Those comments, this is mostly liberal crowd.
Yeah.
They deleted it, and I think right around that time is when they changed the thumbs up to thumbs down.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So they understand that people are pushing back.
And they're trying to control the narrative.
They're trying to control the narrative.
That's why the media is the arm of, I mean, we see the arm of the deep state, because they'll try to frame Dana White as some kind of, you know, controversial figure. Elon Musk, of course, and Joe Rogan. Anybody who is not beholden to, or is not controlled by money and by the establishment that they have in place, they have to try to demonize them in the media.
Yeah. The video that we put, was it last week, where, you know, Bidenomics isn't working or something like that. The news lady was trying to say that, well,
We have some prominent black celebrities.
listen to these celebrities. Let me brainwash you.
Yeah.
But like back to I was trying to remember what my point was when you're talking about culture shifting. I'm seeing that too. You know, Breakfast Club, the other thing, you go in the comments, you see,
Yep.
you know, all the stupid stuff that the host on the Breakfast Club is saying is like, people don't agree with that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
He's talking about when Vivek was on there.
Yeah.
When Vivek was.
Yeah.
But and I just saw a video recently where a woman she went to Brooklyn and interviewed people if they're going to vote for the Democrats or Republican or vote for Trump. There were all these people talking about, we want Trump back.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and it's minority.
Yeah, we showed that too.
Yeah. I want to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Because we were talking about guardians, right? Or guards, right? Funny part is if people don't become guardians, right? And it's, think about like even what you're saying, you know, with Dana and how you have to be a ruler over what and a good steward over what you've been given, right? You can't sell out.
Yeah.
Selling out is letting go, right? Selling out is like, all right, I'll do this, but you're not being a good guard, right? If you don't do that, you're gonna end up losing your freedom.
Yeah.
Because good guards bring freedom, but you're gonna end up in prison, and that's what you're seeing. You're allowing these people. It's almost like you're turning freedom into a prison,
Into its own prison, yeah.
to where you have no choices anymore, and they're telling you what to do, how to do it, when to wake up. You know, like he was talking about it, right?
Yeah.
He didn't even have to. He didn't know how to get a job. He didn't know how to wake up on his own.
Right.
Right. I'm
He
talking
didn't know
about
how to eat right.
I'm talking about
Charleston White.
Charleston
Yeah.
White. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to do any of that stuff because he was institutionalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happens when you want to give up your responsibility, your rights, right? Because when you go into prison, you give up your rights, right? Why? Because you break the law. And I think that's what we got to realize. Like, the wages of sin is death, right? When you don't want to listen to the truth, you're not going to live in freedom.
Yeah.
You're going to become a slave.
Right.
You're going to have a master, and he's going to be a rough master, right? So you're going to be living like a prisoner.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to get that. And I think we're starting to see that with all these policies that are starting to come up, even like in New York City, you know, these in New York State too, like California. Like you're seeing these weird policies come up to where it's like, hold up, where's this coming from? Why would they be doing this? Like stuff that you didn't think could ever happen, right? These things are starting to pop up.
Speaking of weird policies, I just saw on the Breakfast Club, they were discussing how they banned ski masks in like stores because, you know, crime is out of control. And ever since the pandemic, people have been using, we talked about this when back in 2020,
it was going to backfire.
we were like, yo, you're letting people walk in the banks with ski masks on. Like,
It's going to backfire on you.
So,
Dude,
So-
I deliver for, you know,
And-
for FedEx. I will walk. It felt weird when we had to wear a mask. I will walk, you know, in there with a mask on. It was like stupid to me.
Right. And I think too, it's like this, right? One of the things that we do as Christians is we tend to panic.
yeah.
And sometimes we don't realize that the people setting these traps, they're actually going to fall into it. You know what I mean? So look at California recently, right? Gavin Newsom,
Yeah.
right? Couldn't fix this problem.
Yeah.
We won't have the money. There's no budget. There's no nothing. It's insurmountable. We come on, guys. Cut us a
We need
break.
more money.
We need more money, in fact. Right. Until the boss came.
Yeah.
And the reason why, even though Joe is not a Christian, there's still truth there. Because someone like Joe reaches a lot of young people who might be teetering or tottering off of the idea of conservative, not as a political idea, but the idea of, wait. You have money. You don't have money to fix this. But here comes the Chinese leader, and you have money to fix it.
Right.
Some people, because they're caught up in the idea of politics, that they can't see
Who are you talking about?
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
No. I mean, who are you talking about? You said Joe.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Oh, you're trying
I keep saying this stuff because you guys are talking about stuff and
but
you
not giving the full details.
Right,
sorry,
right.
all
So,
right.
For those,
Joe, I'm sorry.
Not Joe.
I'm talking like
Biden.
he's like I know him.
Yeah.
Joe, my friend. No, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan podcast for the people who watch me that may not know. He called out,
yeah.
and he has what, like I think it's like 29 million subscribers, something like that. What I'm saying is this: is that here are politicians literally getting caught lying to the public,
Yep.
spinning a narrative, and we need people like this to point it out. Because what Joe did, I mean, we knew that already, but what
Right.
Joe did is he speaks to the audience and the people who, like I said, they're teeter-tottering off of, come on, man.
Yeah.
But when it's blatant, just like they said 2 years ago, bring over all your migrants. We could take care of this. This is a New York
Yep.
senator, right?
Yeah. No, the mayor.
The mayor.
Mayor.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking to the
And-
woman. There's a woman,
Oh
too.
yeah, she was the interim mayor.
the
she was the
mayor.
interim.
Interim
Was she
mayor.
the governor?
The
or the
governor,
mayor?
right? The governor,
Right.
New York.
She said, yeah, she was an interim, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, she was the governor because Cuomo got ousted.
Right.
So she was the interim.
She was the
governor.
interim for right. She said, "We can handle it. We should be welcomed with open arms." She's now saying, "Go back."
Yeah. Right.
This is
The same thing
This is the
with
same
the mayor.
thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the vice president.
Yep.
Send over everybody.
Yep.
Now she's saying, "Don't come."
Don't come.
If we don't point out this level of hypocrisy,
Not even if it's not hypocrisy, it's you can't guard us.
Yeah.
You can't steward us. So why did y'all? But the thing is, can we take some responsibility for the people we voted for?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
people we voted into this office?
Yeah.
Because I love how these people want to act like they didn't vote for them.
Yeah.
And they weren't duped.
Right.
We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up.
yeah,
You know, like the whole framing Trump as a racist for saying build that wall, wanting to build a wall on the southern border.
Yep.
And then we squander all that money.
Right.
We started building the wall, and then he gets rid of all the supplies.
That's what it
How
is.
come you couldn't use that? And now he's building a wall
And
with more of our money.
Yep.
yeah, and even still, right when DeSantis and Abbott sent over these people who
Yeah.
these politicians, these liberals were advocating for.
They said bring them. They sent them
50 people send
to Martha's Vineyard. Yeah.
send them into 50.
Yeah.
50 people
Yeah.
sent them into
Those Karens were out there protesting, boy. We can't, our town can't handle this. But they're the same Karens that be on Twitter like, why don't you just let them come?
They're not here, are they?
Yeah.
Right. So this is what we're talking about. We're
Yeah.
talking about hypocrisy, and that's the same thing tying into what Jamie was playing earlier. It's hypocrisy within the black culture, specifically the hip hop entertainment culture, that we're blaming everything, white supremacy, the police, everything, but we're not taking ownership of fatherless home. We're not taking ownership of the things we entertain ourselves with, that we constantly defend,
That we love.
and we love it.
Glorify.
Yeah. We have to practice our rights. We have
Yeah.
to exercise our rights. If we don't exercise our rights, we forget what's true or not. We forget. We start thinking like, okay, there's this this YouTube channel that I've came across where this guy, I don't know, you guys might have came across it too. He goes all across the country and he does video and like photography on the street, him and his son. And all they're doing is like taking pictures like on streets, like within towns, right? Or
Okay.
sometimes it's like cities. And he's taking pictures and videos of like people walking by, but also like the storefronts and stuff. He was on the bigger cities. He was like Beverly Hills. What's the Rodeo Drive, right? And then Atlanta, he was at Buckhead, right?
Yeah, Buckhead. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there, and I think it was Buckhead. Anyway, so but this is the thing. This is why he does it. He's exercising his right, his First Amendment right. So he always gets people, especially the business owners. Oh, you can't film. You can do whatever you want out there, but you can't film our property. It's like, yes, I can. Who's told you this? No, that's the law. You're not allowed. I'll call the cops. So they always call the cops, and the cops are always like, yeah, he's allowed to do. Sometimes the cops don't know.
Don't know the law.
And then they gotta learn the law.
Right,
like,
right.
But he does it to challenge, because he's like, if I don't do this, and especially because I'm a part of this, the freedom of the press, right, First Amendment, but also freedom of speech, right? You don't know that these streets are public, therefore I have a right here. And then you start trying to act like the sidewalks ain't public. And then you act like I can't stand on the side. I can't take pictures, right? And even in terms of going into like post office, right? He can go into post office.
Yeah.
But he's exercising his rights, and so many people snap on him.
Yeah.
Like they start snapping on him, and the
I've
way
seen his videos, so
Yeah.
he goes into police station too, right?
That might be a
I've
different
never-
guy. I know
I've
you're-
never seen that.
That guy is a different guy. I've seen his videos because
Okay.
they call themselves like auditors,
Yeah, I've seen
okay.
where they go into post
that.
offices.
Harassing public workers.
Yeah, I have seen stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think some people take it too far.
But a lot of them are just like I've seen them. They're not really
Yeah.
harassing. Like
No,
they're,
no,
yeah.
they're going in to expose. First of all, how
They're-
these people
yes.
are paid by our tax dollars
That's
and they
true.
have
Right.
terrible
That is true.
attitudes.
Yeah.
Right.
They have
You were dealing with
ter-
that when you were getting your house.
Yeah.
The woman who was in charge of
Exactly.
your permit.
Yeah.
Imagine
She
you
was
could have
so
exposed
nasty.
her. Imagine you could have exposed her. Like
Yeah.
these are people that we pay their salaries and they have terrible attitudes. They don't
Yeah.
want to help you
That's true.
out at all.
I hated it at first, but I came around. I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? They're exposing
These people
something.
need to be held accountable.
Yes.
That's what you're getting at.
That's my
Yeah.
point. Like once I realized, like, oh, he's exercising his right, because the more people see it, the more they recognize it. Like the cops now, a lot of the cops are like, "Oh yeah, I'll watch your channel.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it."
Yeah, and
like,
you can see the one captain come and be like, leave him alone. And
Yeah.
the one cop that's overzealous, what do you mean we're letting him go?
Yeah.
but the thing is, then they learn
Yeah.
how, like, you're holding them accountable. You're holding the service people
That's
accountable.
true.
Yeah.
That's a
Right?
good take, yeah.
So
Why don't you know the law? Why do I know the law?
That's
better
a
than
good
you?
point.
You're supposed to
How can you
hold-
uphold something you don't know?
But even in terms of just citizens,
Yeah.
like a lot of them, oh, you're just the a-hole. Like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't get it. You don't have a right. Like, people are like, you stop filming me. I'm like, they're not even filming. They're walking by.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have the right to have me on camera.
Yeah.
He's like, you walked up to me. My camera's on.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they get in this place of, oh, he's just being an a-hole.
That's true.
But really,
Yep.
it's more about he's trying to show like you have to be more accountable for yourself, how you act, what you're doing. You got to pay attention more.
Right.
You can't live in your own world of thinking that you're just right because you're right.
That's a good analogy.
You know?
Because we have this benevolency we give to public figures.
Yeah.
And we never think we need to fact check you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think at first when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this guy has nothing better to do, because we all give this grace to them without even checking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is why for a lot of times when people see somebody in a uniform, you could put on a fake uniform
Yeah.
and pretend,
Yeah.
or we just don't ask.
Yeah. And you know what? That happened in Atlanta. He was in Buckhead, and where he was, there was like really fancy shops, right? And of course, these are like high-end shops,
Yeah.
right? So they were trying to say, the security came up and said, yeah, this is all private property. He's like, not the sidewalks. I checked. Like, I already checked. They're like, no, it's all private. You can't even be here doing this. You're not allowed to film in this capacity, right? And the stores are complaining about it. And he's like, yeah, but they have to know the law.
Yeah.
He's like, let me educate you.
Yeah.
Right? Then they go and get a cop, but the cop
Doesn't know
isn't
anything.
even, first of all, he's not even on duty. And he was like a cop that's hired by the state to just work in that area. He wasn't an Atlanta cop.
Okay.
So then this guy, that cop, he's not even giving him his name or his badge number, which you have to do.
Yeah.
Right? So he's kind of like being evasive, but at the same time trying to tell him some stuff that is wrong. Right? So now he's got to get, and then the guy pulls out handcuffs like he's going to cuff him. So he has to go and find another cop. He calls the cops to find an Atlanta cop. So then that Atlanta cop has to go back, tell the security, and also tell this other Atlanta cop what they're doing is wrong.
Wow.
But he's holding them all accountable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it was just like in Atlanta, they thought that, or in this area, they thought that place was private. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they'll if you let them, they'll continue with this attitude.
Right.
And the same thing like Rodeo Drive, high end stores, right? And a lot of these stores, like, they're nowhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they don't want their stuff filmed. They don't, but they're allowed to. Oh, you're making my customers uncomfortable because they're walking in and out. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're allowed to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, oh, they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what?
So what?
What's wrong with that?
Oh,
Yeah.
and the thing here is this, right? That's uncomfortable. But a guy with a giant dildo on his head and booty shorts.
Right. He has a right to do that.
Right. And you can't, you see what I'm saying? So that at first when I saw it, yes, I was like,
Yeah.
all right, come on, you have nothing better to do. But I changed my mind on that. And I was like, wait a minute. That is true. Because I was surprised at how many cops don't know.
Yeah.
And they just want to bully him away.
They want to flex
Yeah.
on him. And these guys got to be held accountable. These cops that just want to, they're so used to just like, you do what
Get
I
out
say.
of here. Yeah.
And that's it.
ID.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I get it. I had to change a heart on that too, because at first I thought, all right, man, come on, you get better.
Yeah, me too.
You
I thought
know.
these were like antagonists, like just trying to cause
That's what
trouble.
I thought.
Yeah.
But when I realized that the purpose was to practice and
Like you
practice
said,
or exercise their rights.
the first. How do you exercise a right? You have to put it in action.
Yeah.
And the name is perfect. Audit to auditors.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I see it when they pull over judges
Yes.
for speeding.
Yes.
And they pull over like high officials for like drunk driving. There's a lot of that happens.
Right.
You know, these public officials that these people could be stopped way before they get to senator, way before they get to Congress, but it's a favor for a favor. And that crappy person that is allowed to, you guys remember years ago, it was a New Jersey woman who her kids got pulled over.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys
I
remember
that
this?
story? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we showed it on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember seeing that. And she She wasn't even there.
She showed up.
Her kids got pulled over. Her kids called her. She showed up and was sticking her fingers in the police chest.
Yep.
She went. None of this would have happened. She went to complain to the captain about it. And then they put the video out.
Yep.
Right? So imagine if none of this gets aired. She's running for public office. That's the same person that was never held accountable, just like children.
Oh, yeah, that was the one with the kids. And
Yes, the kids.
Like they're
Right?
old adult kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This ties back into what we're talking about with culture, hip hop culture.
Yeah.
These boys grow up to be what?
Men, fathers.
Right. And what are they advocating for? Just like these. See, the thing is, people think just because these people can't read, don't have education, they're no different than them senators that have corruption behind closed doors. That woman that wasn't checked would have become something because that would have been hidden. Those young boys that grow up to be those rappers are the same thing. They're just moving to another dimension. You know what I mean? Or title. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, I had to change our heart on it too because I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
It does need to be exposed.
Because if you don't put these things into practice, you're going to lose it.
Yep.
Bottom line. And this is what happens. And we have YouTube, and you can put video up now, and people can be held accountable in that way, which is a really cool thing.
Right.
But more people have to do that. You know what I mean? Like exercise their rights in those ways. And we can do it in other ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what we're doing right now. Freedom of speech.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, these platforms don't like it too much,
No.
but we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, let's wrap it up there, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to everybody in the chat who's been sticking with us and all the comments. We appreciate you guys. Again, if you appreciate these type of conversations, if you think that these things are important, that we need to change culture in so many ways, you can become a part of it by going to our Patreon and signing up over there for as little as $3 a month. You can become a Patreon member and join the pride of the Young Lions and help grow this community, change culture, change the world, man. We appreciate y'all. Also, we have our merch. I forgot to mention that earlier. Moan has the t-shirt, the hat. I got the hat on. We got the Young Lion merch on our merch store. You can go to the link in the description, and you can get that merch just to rep the pride and show that you're a part of this. A lot of the shirts and the hoodies have the QR code on the back, so if people scan it, they can find out more. Oh, yeah, put it on you, Mom. There you go. She's showing it with no camera. There you go. That's the hoodie right there. But yeah, appreciate y'all, man. It was a good conversation. We got a lot of stuff. I'm saving the rest of this stuff for next week. We got a lot of stuff. Let's not even bring nothing else for next week. Let's just go through the rest of the stuff. There were so many things, man. That was a funny clip of Joe Biden trying to read A Christmas Story, and some little kid told her to shut the F up. Bro, it was so...
No.
Yes.
You don't have that one? I want to see it now.
I do have it.
That one is quick, right?
Yeah, it's a quick one.
Put that one on. I want to see
I
it.
just thought that was...
how about the kid's mouth, though?
I know.
Oh, my God.
I know. Here, pull it up, Mom. We'll play this real quick and take it home with this one. Hold up. Let me put the sound back on.
So when my son was away, my granddaughter, just like you kids, really, really missed her daddy. So I wrote this book to tell other kids, because there's lots of kids who don't know what it's like.
Nice.
No, thank you.
I think that was fake. What do y'all think?
I think it was fake.
I think that was fake. It seemed fake to me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I thought it was funny, though.
Her reaction.
It seemed like they slowed it down, like when that happened, to make her reaction.
Who don't know what it's like.
Yeah. You see it
down.
slowed down?
Yeah.
Maybe it's fake.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You don't know what
lot.
to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It was too like, I'm like, I couldn't picture a kid.
Yeah. Did you see the prayer?
And why would they even let it play?
Yeah.
They would never let that happen.
Right. They would have cut it off.
There was a Thanksgiving prayer. Biden was standing up there with somebody else. And I think it was like they were at some kind of base or something, army base.
Yeah.
And a chaplain went up there, but I think it was fake.
Oh,
and he was
okay.
like, I pray that Biden. So he said something like, I pray that Biden doesn't get into office again. I pray. Like,
Yeah, that was fake.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
you saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, it looks real, but then
Yeah.
I'm like, it can't be real. So I went and looked
Never
for
let
it.
that go.
Yeah, it was fake.
All right, let's wrap it up, guys. Thank you
For
guys
real?
for watching. Wrap it up for real this time. We're out of here. Thank you guys. See you next week. Peace.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people in.